This meeting tonight is our regularly scheduled action meeting when we will vote on matters which have been previously discussed. This meeting is being videotaped for community cable channels. Individuals attending this meeting and intending to speak to the board should be aware that they are being videotaped. In order to meet the requirements of Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, it is necessary to record the names of all citizens who speak to the board during the meeting. That's their name and address. To assure compliance with this requirement, it is essential that those planning to address the board come to the microphone and state their name and address. Members of the audience are asked to limit their questions and comments to no more than 5 minutes. This limit will permit time for those who wish to speak to the board. Whenever members of the audience exceed this time limit, the board president may ask the individual to yield the microphone to the next speaker. I'd like to open the meeting with a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I start the meeting, I'm presiding tonight because Donna Mingle was unavailable this evening for other commitments. So bear with me. I'd like to recommend approval of the minutes of the 740th meeting held on 5/15/97 as circulated, and also recommend the approval of the minutes of the 741st meeting held on 5/27/97 as circulated.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Mosley, a second by Mr. Clemens. Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. Ready? Committee reports. Mr. Schilling isn't here this evening. Mr. Mosley, do you have anything that you want to say regarding facilities or buildings? Tom?
Not at this point. I will have a meeting when we get to the high school expansion portion of the meeting, but nothing on buildings and facilities at this point in time, do we? Nothing.
Community services and policy. The only thing that I want to say regarding policy is that on the agenda tonight are some agenda items regarding bonding. If those things are approved by the board this evening, they will then have to be written into policy over the next several months. Curriculum. Mrs. Krieger.
Okay. The proposed academic standards for mathematics and reading and writing were released this week for review. The standards will now be reviewed for approval by the Pennsylvania Department of Education prior to their approval by the legislature. Pennsylvania academic standards are content standards. They define what students should know and be able to do in specific subjects and at specific levels. The standards will state what students should know and be able to do at the end of grades 3, 5, 8, and 11. In mathematics, the standards will include mathematical reasoning, algebra and functions, statistics and data analysis, computation, etc. In reading and writing, the standards will include reading, analyzing, and interpreting literature, types of writing, characteristics and function of the English language, researching. I guess I'd like to add at this point that these standards are still under review. Dr. Hassler, if there's anything that you'd like to add in relationship to what these standards mean here in North Penn in relationship to our curriculum, our educational standards. We touched briefly at the last meeting on assessment standards and any impacts, if any, that these have on that was discussed at the last meeting. And just for the board's update, I attended a few events since the last time that we met at the last action meeting. I was pleased to attend the first annual Ludi Romani, which was a Latin project that the middle school Latin classes put together. It was an eventful day for them, and I was pleased to attend and be a part a participant in that. Children had all kinds of sports-related activities that they did, and competition was healthy and fun for all that attended. Also, I'd like to extend the thanks to the board and the administrators who were responsible for helping to present to the district the taping and review of the play Freedom Bound, which was at Montgomery Elementary earlier in June. The children were very pleased. The parents were very proud to have that featured on the District Channel 16, and they've extended their gratitude to us for covering that. Other than that, I don't have any other curriculum-related issues, Mr.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Krieger? Yes, Mr. Allen.
It's not a question, but I would like to add something to the curriculum report. If you'll remember, I believe it was last month, the district initiated a reading program for all Title I students going into second grade. As of today, I believe there's about 83 students who would be eligible for that program, and approximately 25 have chosen to enter the program, which to me is a very successful program for its first year. So these children going into second grade will now have remedial reading through the Title I program. They will be paying for it themselves or their parents. And I would just like to thank Dr. Bose and Carol Tarozzi for going through the effort to make this program. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Thank you. Support services, Mr. Allen.
No report.
Finance. Mrs. Scheer, let me interject one comment here.
Don, you missed me again.
Special ed student services.
And support services. D.
Yes. Sorry about that.
It's okay. I'll be
I heard
brief.
you, and I thought you were
I'll be brief.
Special education and student
I
services.
should just move right into my next
Go
report
ahead.
since it's there. Okay, there is good news from the Department of Special Ed and Student Services this evening. The district has applied for and received an additional allocation of $85,234.94 from the Department of Ed for special ed expenses. We are very pleased to be awarded this extra allocation to help defray our special education costs. Several other items are on the board's agenda for approval tonight. They include a recommendation to approve the budgeted amount of $34,125 for summer hours for our counselors. This is not a new request, but rather a routine request that has been on the board's agenda since 1980. In addition to summer hours for counselors, there is a recommendation to approve summer hours for psychologists. The $8,000 budgeted for summer work is the same amount as budgeted for the last 4 years. Also on the agenda are 5 other routine items. They include the yearly contract for Easter Seals, the request to apply for the Drug-Free Schools Grant, representational consent, approval of the special education plan, and the hourly rate for medical and dental examiners, clerks, and team physicians for football at the same rate as last year. End of report.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Mrs.
I
Scheer?
don't know if Sharice can answer this. On the Drug-Free Schools Grant, there's 2 on here, Drug-Free Schools and Community, and the other one, DFSCA. Judy, one's federal, one's state, correct? Is that what the difference is?
No, they're both state, and one is for the DARE program, and the other is for the Turning Point counselors. That's the difference.
Okay, doesn't one actually originate though federal through the state
The
to us?
Drug-Free Schools Grant originates federally, but this one comes through the state then.
Yeah.
So they're both state grants.
But one funnels through, because
Right.
there's federal regulations, I know, over one.
Over both.
Well, okay, they
And
both have
state.
ties, because I know it began there. Well, can you tell me, there's been some questions raised, rumors, I guess you might say, regarding the DARE program and its elimination, and that's something new that I think right now, while these are on the agenda, I was going to ask the general use of these funds and
We
if
have
there's
no
any-
intention of eliminating the DARE program in North Penn. It's been successful here. We've worked very well with the municipalities. It's been great for the students that have gone through. I know there's been a national report that has come out. I looked at that where they're saying that you can't really see the results of DARE. I would question that. I think no matter what we're doing, is helping children somewhere along the line, and I'm not quite sure how they gathered that data.
Okay.
Or the people that were in the sample.
But to your knowledge, there's been no internal talk whatsoever
No,
regarding that?
absolutely not.
Okay, and these, once these are filled out, you haven't yet submitted an application?
No, this is
so you're
this
just
is a request
requesting.
tonight to just submit.
When that's ready, it'll be coming back to us?
Yes, it will.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Finance, Vicki, under finance, the
What
one
about
item
support
came to...
services? There's support
We did that.
services.
We did that.
We did support
We did
services.
that.
Quit picking on me. Give me a
Skipping
chance.
around.
No report.
Okay. I'm going from D to F. I don't know. My alphabet was a little different.
Pay attention.
All right.
Under finance, it came to my attention from the administration that in the continuing working of the budget, they have found some additional funding and the balance in the different events to the degree that if we want to reconsider or consider adding the counselor back into the budget, the funding and the millage could remain the same. It has been also suggested that maybe we could add that to the list of those items that the superintendent was going to look at and the other items we have in the list. I just bring that to your attention.
I would suggest perhaps as a part of the tentative list that, along with the aides and the others that are waiting for our fall enrollment to actually shake out in hard numbers, and also to give some consideration that Dr. Bose at this time has already pledged that he's working on an evaluation of administration, not only of the staffing that we have and the different roles that they're playing, but he's also mentioned to us very openly here at this table that he is looking to perhaps revise the work calendar of employees. And in some ways, in some of those administrative roles and some of this extra hours that are coming into us each summer and things like that, I think perhaps that once that review is also underway during this summer, might have a better handle. I know there was some concern regarding Bert Hines' switch in position and also the fifth assistant principal, and this will give him time to also look forward to bringing a greater justification for everyone. I think we might have a better comfort zone in the fall.
All right, I just want to
But
bring
as a
that...
possibility, rather than closing the door on it, I certainly think that there's probably support within the board, but we can discuss that then
Anything else?
between now. Oh, yes, we have a lot of items on this budget. Even though the budget's being approved at our next upcoming meeting, we have on this agenda quite a few policies related to the budget. One is for long-term borrowing.
Vicki, they're not, as I indicated in my report, those are not, won't be policies even if you vote on them.
No, these are
They can be turned into a
resolutions.
policy eventually.
They are resolutions, though, at this point.
Right.
Mr. Bartle, would you please tell us the distinction between passing a resolution and that of adopting a policy?
Your policy requirements are essentially for notification and advertisement. The difference between a resolution of the board and a policy with respect to their effect is there is essentially none. But there's a difference with respect to the requirements and public notifications with respect to each.
So essentially, though, once this is really done, it has the same weight as a policy.
Well, again, what you do by policy, then you revoke by policy, and the same thing is true with respect to resolutions. So it makes it, if you're passing a resolution, it's something that the board can then subsequently come in and can change in a single meeting. If it's a policy of the board that's enacted after a certain amount of advertisement that is required and the reading of the particular policy, then it must be taken from the books in the same manner as it was placed on. So there's a difference in what you have to do to get rid of it.
And the timeline steps and hoops that you jump through. Ours is a two-meeting, prior meeting announcement, I believe. Sometimes it's generally 2-month period. Okay, well, tonight by resolution, we have a long-term borrowing resolution. I strongly support this resolution. It just takes into from what should be done and articulates it in regards of the use of bond money, which limits it to borrowing for the lifespan of the item, something I've advocated for since 1990, I'd say. And this is one that will put that into a formal requirement. Then we also have the budgetary reserve. This one is simply following through and adding some parameters and giving some definition for the budget reserve, which has been a long time line item in our budget. One that's a little different, capital reserve. This one is following up on the requirements of the school code for the establishment of the capital reserve and articulating the stipulations of the school code for the use of that funding. Make that clear for everyone. And we have bank depositories also on our agenda. This is actually just having to follow up on our direct deposit. Everyone should be aware that tax collectors do have the legal right to choose their bank depository. And so in following up with implementing the direct pay, Mr. Tracy has had to refine this list and add additional different banks for each of the different townships as they so chose. And I'd like to say that he's been able to carry that through very nicely since he's been here. I am requesting that the resolution regarding the fund balance be deferred until next meeting, and so that we can bring this forward with the actual budget vote. There's some outstanding questions among some board members that I think Mr. Tracy should have the opportunity to answer and resolve prior to that time. So, Mr. Hill, I'd like you to take that into consideration.
Is that in your report?
And in the report.
Any questions? Yes.
Vicki, are you saying that these three that you've supported here tonight are ready to be now turned into, you said, a formal document or a formal requirement?
Resolution.
A resolution?
We are being asked to vote on a resolution. In the meantime, policy is basically probably going to take the whole framework of the resolution and place it officially into policy to become policy according to our own policies, say, that govern over policies. You have to have the two formal readings. And so with our budget coming forward next week, in order to safeguard the intent of the board at this time in establishing those, particularly the one on the capital reserve, it's my understanding, Mr. Bortle, that that's required that we have something on record at the time that we establish a capital reserve. We'll also have to follow up with a full budget listing for the disbursement of those funds.
If you're implementing the capital reserve, you must have that resolution.
Right. Yeah, and I believe we've cited the section of the applicable law that requires that.
Right. So that's why we are doing this by resolution now. It'll also be, I guess, backed up through policy, but as Mr. Bortle says, as long as this resolution is still in place, it has the same weight. It's just that it's more easily disposed of than policy.
Mr. Bartle, do we have to also state that we plan to maintain funding for this capital reserve account with an annual contribution to it as a minimum?
No.
I mean, what if you run out of money in this?
Are you asking me if you must make a contribution to the capital account?
Or should we?
Well, whether you should or not is a financial question that should be asked of the financial advisor.
That would be my only question.
All right. If it is the case that you desire not to, then you don't have to. There's no requirement in the law that you establish this. It's just there's just a provision in the law that if you would like to establish this, you may. And you've been advised by your financial people, obviously, that this is an appropriate measure. Have I answered your question?
I believe
unless
the issue of concern happens to be the one word in here of a permanent capital reserve, which I did not hear any direction from the board in
this is something that we plan to establish and maintain, then, do we want to discuss that?
And the word permanent is of one of concern in that the board said that we would establish it this year and then we would look forward towards consideration of it in next year's budget time.
As I read this, the permanency is with respect to the existence of the fund, not the contribution.
Okay.
In other words, we're just setting up the account.
That's correct.
If any year we decide not to contribute anything or putting money in that particular account, we're not in violation of this resolution.
Okay.
That's correct.
Or it could be $2 million if at that time.
That's how I thought it read.
That's how I've read the recommendation. I'll take a look at the resolution as well.
I was going to ask the same question. Should we speak to?
Sorry.
It's okay. I would just like to say, Mr. Hill, that I agree with Vicki. The resolution on the fund balance, since we're going to be voting on the budget next week,
The fund balance.
Yeah, where we have less than 2%. I did have a couple of questions for Mr. Tracy as well, and he's not here tonight, so if we could table that till next week when we vote on the budget, I'd appreciate it. I have no problem with the
Yeah,
other
me too.
3 resolutions, but I would like to hold off on that one if we could.
Vicki, you indicated that be ready to vote on next Thursday?
I would say that we should be able to have the questions resolved by next Thursday regarding the full definition and intent of that.
That would have to come prior to the budget vote as well. We would have to vote in this
But this is not a
resolution prior.
required resolution. This resolution is not required.
No, but if we decide to vote on this resolution, we would have to do that before we vote on the budget. Am I correct?
Mr. Wood, you're comfortable with this?
I am.
All right. We'll table it then till the...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on finance? Sure. Personnel, no report. Legislative, Mrs. Scheer.
No report. Mrs. Krueger?
I only have one comment
The charter?
related to legislative. Have you yelled at our state representatives about that
Early intervention.
early intervention program?
Early intervention. I think they've been hearing it from everywhere.
Yeah, they have.
I don't know if they're listening. Generally, though, they do. And Judy, have you heard anything more?
No, but I don't even want to say anything that, well, it does look good that they won't pass it. So we're hoping.
Well, we're talking about
Doesn't
almost
look like it.
$300,000 in funds, right?
Right.
That's correct.
So it's $300,000 we got to come up with that's been paid for us by as a mandate for us before that they may not pay this year.
That is correct.
You know, Don, the tough part is that just like with the charter schools and with the outcome standards, you don't know when to react to the state either because they're all over the place. And you know, just you never really know exactly what they're going to pass until it's off the floor and finished. Between last-minute amendments and everything else, it must be really frustrating.
Well, and everyone's in the same boat that we are. Everyone's waiting, and they're holding that amount of money, just waiting to see if we're going to have to use it.
It's a shame they're not as organized as we are.
That's right.
I did have a question. Charter schools, it seems it's been on the news every day for the last month. Looks like Judy, looks like that one's going to pass, I think.
Yes.
Just did.
Oh, did it?
Today.
Today?
Today.
I didn't hear the news today.
The governor was here to sign it in Philadelphia.
Oh.
When we receive that final bill version,
When we get a copy, we'll get it out to you.
bring it out to us and see where we're headed. Thank you.
Technology, Mr. Weitz.
Yes. The administration will be bringing to the board a recommendation to purchase a replacement for the district's financial and student records management system. The vendor specializes in educational software and systems, and they currently service Central Bucks, Central Dauphin, Eastern Montgomery County VOTEC, Harrisburg City Schools, Norristown Area School District, the School District of the City of Scranton, Springfield, Upper Darby, and the Williamsport Area School Districts. The system being recommended provides an integrated solution for our operational needs, as well as a single source for software and hardware maintenance. The recommendation is being made now because, one, our current system could crash around our ears tomorrow, and two, we must have time to install the system, train the staff, convert all of our current data, and run new and old systems in parallel while the new system is thoroughly tested and validated. The vendor is a specialist in the educational field, and the product is sound. The recommendation will have my complete support. End my report.
Let me interject at this time before I to citizens. This particular item has received a lot of dialogue and discussion over the past weeks. Year. I think the board is in tune with the problem and in tune with the need of bringing the system into the new century. However, there are still questions that are concerns of some of the board members related to this particular item. And some of those questions are related to the requirements, a real requirement document as to what this system will perform and do. How did other school districts reach the conclusion to come with this system, and other related issues. And also, it's my understanding that to pass this particular item, you need a 5 majority on the board. There's 2 board members missing tonight. I think for a $500,000 budget, we should be pretty close to an understanding where we're going with that. So I have elected at this time to table that item for tonight and put it on the agenda for next Thursday, because in the ensuing time, I've been assured, we have found, which I didn't know this morning, we have found the requirement documents related to the financial system and to the public pupil system that'll be in your hands within the week. We also are getting a list of all of the other school systems in the United States that are currently using or planning to use in the near future the identical basic system that we're talking about here. And thirdly is that we're reviewing with the other school districts in the area that have recently selected to go with this system, their selection process. How did they look at other vendors and other people and come with the selection? This information will all be available to us before Thursday. So at this time, I am, for those reasons, I am having this item tabled tonight. I would open this, further dialogue. I think this might be a good time to have other dialogue on this particular system so everybody understands where the board members are coming from. Pat, I know you've had some concerns in this area. Why don't you express them at this time?
My biggest concern was the fact that, not my biggest, a couple of concerns. The system's 13 years old. We've upgraded it twice to the tune of $150,000 plus. I understand most recently is 93 or 94. And now we're being asked to go with a vendor. I'm a little concerned that 3 years down the road, they come back and say, we're going to need another $150,000 upgrade. They're kind of forcing us to make a decision by saying they're not going to support the system as of next year or the year after, 98 or 99. And also, the biggest thing is that hopefully within the next month or so, we're going to hire a new director of finance. And my hope is that, if nothing else, as a courtesy, that we ought to extend the privilege of having this man see what we're going to bring in and have him work with. The biggest concerns I understand, and Tom was good enough to send some of his people in to look at the business aspect of our operation. Seems to be the business aspect. I have recommended several times that we outsource payroll. I have since had a meeting with Mr. David Dent of AD Computer, who is willing to come before this board and make a brief presentation if the board so desires. There would be no problem in them handling our payroll. It costs about 87 cents a check, and that would include all the operations, filing taxes, direct deposit, W-2s, stuffing, mailing, the whole 9 yards. And I just think that in view of the fact that we're going to hire a new director of finance, and if we're going to make some of these changes in there, let's do it in a structured and in a good manner that we won't have to perhaps revisit this thing 3 or 4 years down the road. If we're going to do it, let's do it right.
Thank you, Pat. Does anybody else like to put their views on the table this time?
Well, I think some clarification. Actually, I sat in for the 91-92 school year. It was in the budget time, so that April was when I saw $357,000 pumped into Penimations. I then saw $159,000 2 years later. That was because it needed to expand our user capacity through this decade. My concern with this is that as I read through this paper, it says in 1990 they introduced this industry-leading open series product line. What amazes me that we put $500,000 into a system after that, and now we're going back to a 1990 product line. And I've been hearing all throughout technology discussions that you go 3-4 years and this stuff's out of date. I mean, I'd like to have a presentation through a work session from Penimations. I'd like to see if there's guarantees on how long they will service and support this system. Will they sign into a contract, a 12-year range of support for this, so that we're not throwing good money after bad, and the explanation of how we ended up being led into the investments that we had. When you think about this time frame of after we put money in and then we subsidize it again, and then we're coming back to the table, and quite frankly, David's right, the discussions about this system being inadequate have been ever since within 2 years after the last 150-some thousand went in. So I'm a little gun shy. I think Pat's point about our financial director having some input, because he may have needs, develop needs and purposes, or he may eliminate needs according to how he brings forward recommendations once he gets to know our system. I agree with David, though, we can't afford to waste a lot of time, but at the same time, I would expect that we intend to have someone on board as a permanent financial director within the next couple of months.
Thank you, Mr. Scheer. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I just have to rebut some of these things. I mean, the comments throwing good money after bad, guarantees on the life of software. This software has been in our school district 12, 13 years. Every software product goes through cycles of maintenance, new releases, and new features that are required. We have not essentially repurchased financial software in 12 or 13 years. The capital dollars that have gone into the improvement of the computer system itself have been solely done for the basis of increased storage capacity and increased horsepower because of the number of users that are required to access the information in those systems. It has nothing to do with feeding Penimation dollars for the sake of enriching themselves because of new features. We have had upgrades to the software. They have been covered under maintenance. We have had to increase the capacity of our hardware systems. If you apply the same logic that you're trying to do to computer systems, you should be driving a 1955 Plymouth. Because what you're saying is that when the car is obsolete, then that's the only time I'm going to buy another one.
No, David, that's the opposite point of view.
It is, you're applying poor logic to the pace of technology and change. This company, at this point in time, 12 or 13 years down the road, can no longer afford to support as many systems as they're trying to develop in response to their customers' needs. This system may well serve the district for another 10 years. I can't guess what that is because I can't guess what our requirements are. Our staff, since we purchased the system, has probably doubled. The benefits required to itemize and deduct and categorize and report on and account on have doubled or tripled by Mr. Kelly's own account when he first brought this forward. We're talking about a system that meets the needs of our district today. It is because we have grown. And that is the major reason that we need a new system, other than the point is by the year 2000, the system will cease to function. It has nothing to do with Penimation. The corporations in the entire world are facing the same problem. What do we do when the date turns over to 00 and the system thinks it's 1900? Every major corporation in the world is facing this issue today. We need the time to convert our data. We need the time to run the systems in parallel. We need the time to test it and validate them to make sure that they work, and we are losing time. This company is a specialist in the area of educational finance software and student records. To go out and think that you're going to find a consultant that is going to do it for less is ridiculous. It will take them more time and dollars to specify this district's needs than it will ever take to cut a purchase order and get a software system in here that we know will work and will meet our needs regardless of who comes in here as the director of finance. I don't understand it. If you're so ignorant on the issue, learn something about it, but stop stonewalling this entire process by saying, I'm afraid it's going to be obsolete. Our new director might want something else. Who hires a director and says, change the whole software if the system is functioning? Not many corporations will change an entire accounting system because they've hired a new CFO. I just don't understand it. If you don't understand it, why don't you talk to somebody else instead of waiting for an entire year and the point where 9 people sat here and said, we know how much we want to spend, this is the software, let's take it out of this capital reserve project and do it. I dare say if the 2 other board members were here tonight, this would be passed, without a doubt. And it will be passed next Thursday night, without a doubt.
David, you refuse to allow any competition into this discussion.
I'm telling you that this is a niche product. It is a niche product.
That's
You
ridiculous.
will not find
That's ridiculous.
10 people to bid on this effectively in the time frame that we have left without redesigning the entire system.
And no one was making an issue of your software. The hardware and the promises that were made that I sat and watched come forward to the board were grand and glorious. This system and the money that was being put in was going to fulfill the needs of the future. I don't want to hear that this computer meets our needs today, but just a year or 2 down the road, it's insufficient, or we made a bad decision.
What will be the reasons for that? What do you think the reasons will be? Because the software has failed? Because the hardware has failed? Or perhaps that we have tried to double or quadruple the number of users that will have to access the system because it has valuable data for our day-to-day operations? What will the reasons be? What will you accept? When we upgraded the VAX in the past, it was running at a crawl because of the number of people and the amount of information that we were trying to put into that system. That's why the upgrade was required, not because somebody felt like saying, let's put more money into the system and get some more horsepower so that we can be the biggest, baddest school district in the county.
Mr. Hill?
No,
Mr. Hill? I'd like to respond because, quite frankly, I'm a little dumbfounded, David. And
I can certainly understand that.
yeah, well, I hope so, because I have not sat here for a year as a board member and
in the audience.
stonewalled
And you've been in the
anything about
audience.
technology, and I highly resent that comment. But anyway, getting on to what I want to say in regards to this particular issue. We need an upgrade for our business system. Is that correct, Mr. Hill? Yes, that is correct. The problem that I'm understanding is that the current system that we have here not only houses all the financial and business information of this district, but it also houses all of the student services needs, report cards, all kinds of records, things like that. So I understand what you mean by added users or information input or overload. However, is that the most effective system that we can come up with to run a district? Or is there something better out there that maybe will allow this district to separate those 2 areas, business, student services, and bring another few companies in? I'm not asking for 10 bidders on this thing, Mr. Weitz, because quite frankly, I'd like to get the show on the road. And if anybody's been stonewalling on technology, sir, I believe it has been you. So having said that, and you can laugh all you want, but this is the board that's been sitting and waiting for a technology report since the end of the long-range planning process.
Did I miss something on the night that I presented a report that no one's ever bothered to act on since? Did I miss something? I think almost every person, and I recognize a lot of familiar faces, have a document that came from the Technology Committee.
Would you like to share what the price tag on that document
It
was?
was in the back of the document. It was under every single item. It was tabulated in capital and
who wrote
annual
that?
expenditures.
And who wrote that plan, Mr. Weitz?
I wrote it with the best estimates I could come up with, hoping that there would be a discussion on this board, and it has not occurred.
Mr. Weitz, you had an obligation to let this board know that you wrote that plan, sir. I was
think it
under the
was-
impression that a committee wrote that plan.
I think we understand each other's position. Is there anybody else that would like to add a new input or a different input? Mr. Allen?
Yeah, I guess it's not the first time it's happened, but I come to a meeting having things on the agenda, expecting things to happen. We've had our discussions among ourselves. I haven't heard any problems, and here again, all of a sudden, things have been going on I didn't know about, and we're not voting on something because something's going on that I guess I'll have to say I just don't get it anymore. What goes on between when we had Penimation brought to us long time ago, we had them make a presentation, it's all we've talked about, we had the open meeting, we had the work session, I didn't hear any of this, and now when it's time to make a decision, there's all kinds of problems that I don't know about. And it just gets very frustrating and very irritating that all this goes on, and I don't get it.
I understand.
I just don't get it.
And it's unfortunate that something.
Can I pull things off the agenda I don't like?
No,
Or we
it's
all
going to
pull
take
something we don't
5.
like?
We can move it forward tonight. Bill, this is the first I've heard of what series was being recommended. Am I missing something? Is this the first time a specific product of Penimation's was just brought to us? I heard Penimation give a
No,
report
because I
about
have
its
the same
company.
pamphlet from last year, Mrs. Sherry. I even brought it with me tonight.
Can we bring this to close?
And no, I don't want to bring it to close. I want to decide
I
it
don't
now.
have an argument.
I'm
I
tired of getting drugged through the mud in the press, that I'm stonewalling, that I'm giving lip service on the technology plan when it is flat out not true. One board member on this board wrote this technology plan. We have one bidder for an upgrade to a business system, which I think is absolutely ludicrous in light of all of the upgrades that we've already done. And I'm sorry, Mr. Weitz, if you can't accept that this particular board member would like input from the community, from people that have contacted us that have said, hey, there are other educational technology professionals out there that can come in, do an analysis requirement of your entire district, whatever you want us to do, we can do that for you. We can come up with a requirement document that will list the things that you should do with a timeline and everything else that's in line with our long-range plan, and most importantly, identify for us the different ways that we have available to us, not just us, but all the boards in the future to fund technology. I want to do this the right way for the kids, Mr. Weitz, and they're at the bottom of your priority list,
Teresa,
not the top, and that's why I'm upset, and I want it done the right way.
We understand, we all do. Let me try to wrap this up in some kind of summary. As I indicated to you, for numerous reasons, it's been pulled tonight because of the, I don't think there is a majority here to move ahead with it. And we have some more information that's going to come to you within the week. Part of that's requirements document, one on the business machine and one on the student plan. It's 2 different requirements documents. We're going to be getting information on other school systems that are using this specifically type of system, and we're also going to have information on why, or the process that was used by other school systems relative to the selection of the particular system. This information will come to you within the week. And then, because we should have a full majority of the members here, and there's indication they want to bring this to a vote, that we put it on the, I'll be recommending to the president we put it on the agenda for the next meeting. I think we've dialogued this, and everybody has expressed their viewpoints. More would just be redundant. I'd like to move ahead with the high school expansion. Mr. Moser.
Good news, Mr. Hill. On Tuesday evening past, Mr. Del Ricci and Mr. Wood, Mr. Ackerman, Ms. Stott, and myself attended the zoning hearing board meeting at Palmenton Township on the high school expansion, and we were given an okay. The next step will be next Wednesday. We have a follow-up meeting with the Board of Supervisors, and there are just a couple more things to do after that. We have to wait for, we have to provide a linen, we have to get a DEA report on our detention basin, and there's one other item. But hopefully we'll be able to go to bid in July.
That's great.
So the process
I think your committee and Art have done a great job in getting to this point.
Thank you.
Thomas and the people. We're all anxious to get that ground broken out there and get this addition put on the high school.
And we're
Any
very,
other
very close.
any questions or comments for Mr. Moser? Thank you. North Monco Tech Center, Bill Allen.
Yes, the board members will have found, hopefully, in their packets tonight, a memo from me, a proposal from Dr. Irwin, who is the director of the North Monco Technical Career Center, and it concerns upgrades and renovations to the food prep and baking areas of the school. I don't want to go through the whole thing here, but basically, if I can sum it up for the audience, The JOC of the Vote Tech has been in work since 1995 of evaluating the food preparation, the baking labs at the Vote Tech School. We have now, through the strategic plan and through the initiation of a school-to-work program for food prep area students, and because all the sending schools to the Vote Tech are asking that the Vote Tech offer a lunch program for all its students, we are now proposing, I don't know what the right word, we're moving ahead, hopefully, at the Vote Tech with a thorough upgrade of the layout and the equipment in the kitchen area of the Vote Tech. Now, you have to remember that those areas are, or have been up to this period, merely classrooms. They're not made for serving food to the students. So between the age of the equipment, which is mostly original to the construction of the building, the layout requirements that are different, to have food prep and serving, and because of the fact that we are now in a construction program where we can use some of the monies and get a reimbursement from the state because it is part of the curriculum, the JOC of the Vote Tech is asking for support for the project. The monies from the project are going to come from the monies that we have already given for the expansion. Why do we have this money? Basically, two things have happened. One is the project came in under bid. And the second major factor is we were expecting approximately a 20% reimbursement from the state for the construction project. That, in fact, has turned into a 37% reimbursement. So the money is there. There will be no added funds or extra funds asked from any school district for this project. So we are asking for support to do this, and I guess we will assume that if the board does not vote against it, that the project will continue. Are there any questions?
Yes. How much of our money that would have been refunded to us is now being redirected to this newfound need?
$132,817, according to the budget. That was given to you.
Well, in my packet.
Yeah.
I don't usually go through my blue packet as we sit
It's
here
in
on
there.
other business.
That is monies that we would have gotten returned to us at the completion of the building project.
Including the difference between the originally planned 20% and 37% in reimbursement, or have they not added that?
No, that's what the monies would be right now based on today's numbers of the contract amount and the reimbursement.
Vicki, I would also like to add, because Bill and I were both at the meeting, we will be getting monies back over and above this. Dr. Irwin doesn't want to release the exact figures right now because things could always happen and things could change, and once you give someone a figure, you say you're going to get $500,000 back and you only get $325, then there's always a question of justification. But even over and above us contributing this $132,000, and the reason we are is because we send the majority of the kids that go to that Vote Technical School are North Penn students.
Right.
So our contribution is probably higher, but our reimbursement from monies that will be left over out of the project when the project is completed, we will get a greater share of that reimbursement back. But he's assured us that even with this $132,000 expenditure, we will still be getting money back when the project is completed. The bids came in. They had 45 companies that bid on that project. So
on the cafeteria project?
No, on the expansion.
Okay.
So they really were elated over there. They had a lot to choose from, and they really were very economical. So I agree with Bill. I would like to see support for it because, first of all, we can get reimbursement at this time. If we table it and decide to do it 2 or 3 years down the road, we will not get reimbursement. Secondly, the building is torn apart over there right now. So it's probably the best time to do it rather than 2 or 3 years tear the building apart again. But again, the nice thing about it is it will relieve some of the stress for our lunches in our high school and our other schools because of the fact they will now be able to serve lunches. It should help Dr. Carter in scheduling lunches, where I'm sure you read in the paper a few months ago where kids were complaining about having lunch too early or lunch too late. We will now be able to relieve that stress because the VOTEC will be serving lunch.
Well, that's what I'm just wondering. We'll have about 400 students that may or may not
They're hoping
be
more
in our
than that.
cafeteria. Is it going to work, though, like our buses, where we really basically have to plan for them to be there because you really can't count on them not being there?
It's just, well, it's just a matter of them walking across that parking lot there, that practice field or whatever. But the
No, if we don't have a procedure in place
Oh, I'm sure there
for
will
knowing
be.
where they're going to be.
Dr. Irwin has
you
already been,
defeat
if you
your
read the
purpose.
letter, he has already been talking to Dr. Cotter, and also, I believe, Mr. Venema over at the middle school. So they're really trying to make this thing work, and I think it can. And the nice thing about it is the kids that are in the culinary program right now, they're really restricted as to what they can do in terms of learning food preparation and presentation.
they're great.
Well, that's for our dinners.
I went to dinner.
But this will allow them to expand that program, which will even benefit those students more.
I have some experience
So I
there.
think it's a win-win
I'm just looking, though, as long as we take care of those technical areas, too,
Right.
where we have some accountability, first, of where the student is in attendance.
Knowing Dr. Irwin
And everything
as I
like
have
that.
in the last year and a half, I'm sure that he will
And there was the
dot
one-
the i's and cross the t's.
132, because I had heard numbers rolling around that there was the anticipation of a refund from the VOTEC this
There
year.
is-
I do
there will
not
be.
know if Mr.
There
Tracy
will-
took any account.
There will be a refund over and
And
above this
the-
expenditure.
How long would they know, Pat?
Mr. Allen, so
Pardon?
what action are you asking us to take to show support for this? Or
By reality, legalities, if you want, we really don't have to take an action. We would prefer that we present it to you, because it's a change of what we've planned, that we present it to you, and this is the presentation. If we don't vote not to do it, then we will inform Dr. Irwin that North Penn supports going ahead with the program. So I would say if anybody wants to object, now's the time to do it, because we have to proceed. And if there's a problem, then we'll just tell him that North Penn doesn't want it to happen, and we'll have to get his votes or his support from the other 4 sending school districts. So we kind of have to have a straw poll now, Don, I guess. Just to,
Or is anybody opposed to doing this? I don't ever see any opposition.
I'll have to
Okay.
read through this stuff. No, we should send it.
Merck Science Partnership, Mr. Weitz.
56 North Penn teachers will begin their 3rd year in the Leader Teacher Institute at the end of July. After 3 weeks, each teacher will have had the opportunity to increase professional knowledge in science content, life, physical, and earth and space science, and instructional strategies in science and mathematics through technology. They will continue their focus on leadership skills in the final year of the Institute and assist with professional development activities at the building level. An additional 95 North Penn teachers will participate in the peer teacher workshop directly following the Leader Teacher Institute. Each teacher has selected a science or mathematics strand aligned with the grade level taught. The peer teacher workshop is designed to create greater awareness of the reform efforts in science and mathematics education and explore the integration of science and mathematics with other curricular disciplines. Teachers in grades K through 6 have developed the unit schedule for delivery of science modules for 1997 and 98. During the summer, these units will be restocked for use in the fall and ready for shipment to schools in late August. The Science Resource Center, the Science Place, currently located at Penndale, prepares and delivers all science materials and equipment to elementary schools and fills the requests of the middle school teachers for science materials, equipment, and print and video materials. One of the goals of the Science Place is to have equipment on loan and available to all teachers in order to save the district the expense of completely outfitting each school. This helps to assure equity of access by all students in our schools. The North Penn Science Resource Center will be highlighted this summer in print and in photographs as an exemplary center at the Leadership Institute of the National Science Resources Center at the Smithsonian Institute. The North Penn Elementary Science Program was again featured in the most recent issue of the Science and Technology for Children newsletter, a national publication. The program is also expected to be mentioned in an upcoming nationwide brochure published by the National Science Resource Center. Plans for the 1997-98 year include continued publication of the Leader Teacher newsletter and the Leader Teacher resource packets, both developed by the science supervisor. These publications will be available to all teachers through their school libraries. The new science modules will be introduced during the year, bringing the K-6 science program to full implementation. Our partnership continues with Merck West Point through regularly scheduled meetings with the Volunteer Coordinating Board. That is my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. White? Long-range planning. Do you have anything?
Just a brief review of what is in front of you, which indicates an overview of what we've really accomplished this year and the passing of the language arts program, the work that's being done in curriculum development, and only some recommendations as you continue to move toward the implementation of the long-range plan, that there continue to be an understanding of development of academic standards and expectations, that the Curriculum Coordinating Council continue to work to guide the review cycle for planned courses, and the Staff Development Council and Assessment Council continue to work in their field.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments? Meet and discuss. Meet and discuss committee meeting with the administrators. We still have to schedule that meeting. On that meet and discuss committee, you know, Pat, you're a member, and John Schilling is the other member there. There's also a meet and discuss that Donna will be handling with the teachers as related to the contract, as related to the merit subjects in that area. That I'm not sure who's in that committee. That's all right. But she'll be handling that, scheduling that.
Do you have a date, Don?
I do not have a date. I'm waiting to hear from Dr. Bose as to that, and even who their members are. I have not heard yet. But I would hope that would happen very shortly.
Okay.
Municipal relations, nothing is happening here. We're scheduling a meeting with the municipalities in the fall, September, October timeframe to review some items were brought up at our last meeting. That concludes our committee reports. I only want to add one item that comes under, may come under municipal relations or community relations. I trust that everybody saw in both in the Enquirer and in the North Penn Reporter that the base program here at the school has got some recognition from the White House as to whether that's good or bad, as to a positive program. It's always good to be recognized in some of that area. At this time, we'd move an audience of citizens. I assume the tape is sufficient, or? Yes. Move ahead. Okay. Yes, we have. Call for audience of citizens. If you come up and give your name and address, please.
My name's Richard Byrne, Colmore, Hatfield Township. I was here last month to talk to the board, and I was awful nervous sitting here because I was pretty emotional about everything I wanted to say tonight, but I hope I don't alienate anybody because it seems tempers might be a little high, but I'm going to go with it anyhow. I came to talk to you last month about qualified soccer coaches for the girls' soccer program. Mainly, I was here for all the coaching positions, but I hate girls' soccer. As of this date, I've had no response to the individuals who submitted resumes that I handed in. I myself had no response with repeated phone calls until a week before last when I got a hold of Mr. Hasler or Dr. Hasler, whichever. At which time he told me everything was given to Dr. Bose. That's who I needed to talk to. I hung up the phone. I called Dr. Bose and told him that Mr. Hasler told me to call him, at which time he called me more or less a liar. I would appreciate anyone on the school board to call me for that because I don't want to take the time here about that conversation to forget what I'm here to do. But it will be addressed whether it's this meeting or another meeting. I can guarantee you that. There has been no response to the individuals who submitted the letters of concern to the girls' soccer coaching positions. The only communication has been initiated by myself with no assistance from any administrator from the district on the status of the letters or an explanation of what the process is for replacing those coaches who have now resigned. Or, for that matter, how you even go about appointing a coach in the North Penn School District. I can't get that answer. But there's also not been any advertisement, and Dr. Bose told me we're accepting public applications, but there hasn't been any advertisement that we are. He told me that costs money, so we're not doing it. Well, that's a shame, because my whole purpose of coming in the first place was it's a closed loop. There are highly qualified individuals willing to come into the North Penn School District and coach, no matter what sport it is, for the money that's paid. But we're keeping the loop closed, and the only people who are applying for these jobs are teachers. I have no problem with that. Like I told you last month, there are some wonderful programs that when I went through the school system were tremendous. They were done by teachers. There are still wonderful programs within the school district being done and coached by teachers. I have no problem with that. But I think we need to accept applications from the public. If it costs a little bit of money to put the ad in the paper, I'll pay for it myself. Just give me the bill. Okay? The problem is this. For a year, and there's a few school board members who know this, I have stopped parents that were involved in the girls' soccer program from acting on Title IX. Title IX is what gives the girls the right to have equal access as the boys. That doesn't just mean that there's a boys' soccer program, we put a girls' soccer program in place. If they act on Title IX and bring in the federal government on it, they come in and evaluate every single sports program, every activity, boys and girls, up, down, and sideways. Not just the programs in place, but that the girls have access to the same type of good uniforms. Well, last year you had 120-some-odd girls in the soccer team, so half of them didn't have uniforms. That they have the exact same field use. You go over and compare Walton Farm, its fields, to the fields the boys are playing on at North Penn High School. May not match up. Quality of the coaching may not match up. I don't know. I really don't know everything they go up, down, and look at, but I've been able to stop that. But after my conversations with Dr. Bose, if the school board does not direct the administrators on what to do and come out and say how we go about putting coaches in place and all that happy stuff, I will tell the parents that want to do it to go ahead and file the paperwork. By the way, it doesn't cost the parents a dime if they have a daughter in any of the programs they want that they're causing the problem for. So it doesn't cost any money. Okay? So I don't think we need it. I told Donna last time I was here, and I've told a couple other school board members, I don't want to see that happen. I feel we can change it within our own district ourselves. But we've been dragging our feet. I'm being told, well, we don't need to put the girls' soccer coach in place yet because that's a program that doesn't start till spring. Gee, right there tells you a discrepancy because we have the boys' football coach in place January. That's 9 months before football season starts, people. We've lost one of those people that applied for the girls' soccer program, put it in his resume. He has already got a coaching position at another girls' program, which starts in the spring. Why can't we just look at these people? Why can't we just tell them, we want you, it's not costing us any money. Yeah, you're going to be the coach. It doesn't cost a dime till they coach. But every one of them's got applications in elsewhere, too. I gave you one resume for young ladies who won at Mercy. Heck, there's 2 other high schools that won her because of people that have been at tournaments she's been running. But we're not talking to them. All I ask is that the school board decide what they're going to do. And that at least for common courtesy, you write a letter or have whoever's supposed to be doing it write a letter to these people who have submitted them. And that if we are accepting applications, if it is not closed to just the teachers in the school district who get these positions, that we announce it. If it costs money, like I said, send me the bill. I'll pay for it. I'm not doing this because I have any idea of ever being political or wanting that position. I'm doing it because I coach the girls this age. I do it because I'm involved in the community with youth sports. And all I ask is that we look at it and we do something with it. Thank you.
Let me speak to, I'm not going to get into debate with it.
No,
Let me just respond
I
to
want
you.
to just ask a question in regards to that.
Go ahead.
It's my understanding from conversation that I had with Mrs. Mangle last week that this is an item that's due to be discussed.
Let me go in with that.
Okay.
I was going to respond to that. Anybody that's capable or has the credentials and has the desire to teach or coach I should say, one of the sports in the North Penn, in the area, is eligible to apply for the jobs. They're not restricted to teachers. Nothing in that area. Sometimes it's beneficial to have a teacher in doing some of the things because they work with them all day, but that's not a restriction. Anybody that's interested in applying for a particular coaching position, whether it be a spring or summer or whatever that sport happens to be, should send their resume in with a letter from themselves with their resume saying they're so interested. And at the time, those letters will be acknowledged. And at the time that the selection is being made for coaches for that particular sport, they will be considered with who all applied for that position. Now, you indicated that you did hand some resumes in, but the resumes were handed in cold. They weren't sent in with a letter or sent in with any. I would encourage you, and maybe redundant, but let's do it the right way.
There were letters of intent and everything in there. That Dr. Bose has those copies, does he not, Mr.
If
Hassler?
those,
Yeah, I have those here.
Yes, I believe that, and I believe they've been passed along to Dr. Cotter and also Dr.
Everything was
if those
letter of
those are in
intent.
here, they'll be responded to, and they'll be in the group. When that support is selected for the coaching on that, they will be part of those that are reviewed at that time. That probably be done. You know, there's exceptions to all rules, but generally the coaches are selected. That could be correct, everybody. That coaching for the positions are usually selected twice a year, spring and fall, depending on when the sports are needed. We don't usually select the spring, we're filling all the spring positions until we get close to that time, or the fall positions we get close to that time.
My problem with the whole thing is that process. You see, because what it does is it closes the loop. You have people that are not teachers who are applying.
Right?
You wait until fall for spring to even start writing letters. Those resumes and letters of intent have been in there for 4 weeks.
It's ridiculous.
No letters written back to these people. These people have no idea whatsoever that we're even doing it.
We as a board will discuss this item and give you some answers.
You know, because we need to get these people that are qualified in. If we don't, if we drag our feet, and I'm going to be very honest with you, right now the parents feel you're dragging your feet. If you want me to fill the room up with a majority, I can do
We
that.
understand it. Let me conclude this by saying that we'll follow up with, I personally make the recommendation. We'll get back to you with something.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Hill, you just raised another red flag of concern for me personally.
Yes.
You said that the resumes, Mr. Byrne indicated tonight that he was told by Dr. Hassler that everything was turned over to Dr. Bose. Now you've told the board and the community that these have been turned over to Dr. Cotter. What's his role in this? What does he have to do with that?
In the selection of coaches, I don't know who does all the selection.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
The principal has a role in. That's something we'll
Is it a
discuss with the
committee
board.
or
I
one person?
don't have an answer.
I mean, I want to make sure, Dr. Hassler, that you indicate to Dr. Bose of what transpired here this evening, and that I personally would like to see something in writing to the board, to Mr. Byrne, and to the individuals who sent these things to us, and I think the dates here are beginning of May. These letters are dated at the beginning of May. I mean, we're at the end of June, and he's absolutely right. I mean, you cannot, the only reason that there's only 2 approval cycles for these coaching jobs is because, for the most part, they're only available for the professional employees here at the district. So, sure, you can, but you still appoint the spring coaches in September, Mr. Hill.
Well, I'm not going to argue about the process.
I personally would like to know what the process is, too,
We're gonna
because
find out
I'm
the
like
process.
real confused
We'll
now.
find the process. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Marla Darcy, Upper Gwinnett. I have a lot to cover, so I'm going to try and get through these points. First of all, I want to extend congratulations to our BASE program and the lady who runs the program and the fine job they've been doing, and they deserve national recognition. And now that they're a model, one of the few models in the country, I think we should be very proud of them. Okay, next, I want to get one point clear here. Judy Miller. If these numbers are wrong, please correct me, because I don't have my notes with me from last time. The teachers in the preliminary budget as of tonight that have been requested, is it 13.5 elementary, 5.5 secondary, 1 guidance counselor, and 5 special ed?
No, you have some of the numbers correct, Mrs. Darcy. I believe you said 5.5 secondary.
Yeah.
There are 8 secondary teachers that are in the budget.
Okay, so it was 13.5 elementary, 8 secondary, 1 guidance counselor, and 5 special ed?
5 special ed, that's correct.
Okay. I would like to hear from somebody on this board tonight a commitment to this community that the 13.5 elementary school teachers, the 8 secondary school teachers, the guidance counselor who has, thank you, magically reappeared, and the 5 special ed teachers be definitely in that final budget that is approved. Because if any games are played with the number of teachers that are required, and this is not even accounting for growth in enrollment and kindergarten classes that are coming over, the straight line projections, this is something that the community deserves a guarantee of. Another thing is, I share he left, his frustration. I came before this board. There's a definite gap. We have a tremendous need in our reading needs in this district. I gathered information that's public information from this very district. It was handed out. I asked at the last meeting, had there been any questions, any discussion, and the answer was no. So we have children who are in need of reading help who are not getting it, and this board is not addressing that. Going on to the next point, technology. Mr. Weitz, I was here the night that you presented your plan. The room was filled with people who were far more knowledgeable about computers than I would ever pretend to be. And the support was overwhelming, and there is a mandate in this community that we move ahead for our children's sake. This board is not doing it. What we have now is a $1 million commitment to a capital improvement fund that can be earmarked for other things besides technology. And that can be used for other things other than technology that are capital improvements. That is not a steadfast, yes, we want to provide for our children the future for technology. And this community is not buying it. And the other thing is the budget. All right, we're talking about, first it was a $0 mil increase. Then we had Mr. Tracy, thank goodness, who told us that we shouldn't use our reserve funds and that we needed at least a $4 mil increase. I went back and I got the millage increase from 91 on. In 92 to 93, we had a 12.9 mils increase. 93 to 94, we had a 5 mils increase. 94 to 95, we had an 18.7 mils increase. 95 to 96, we had a 14.6 mils increase. 96 to...
Darcy, it's all entering data, but you've been here quite a while.
No, I don't think I've been here 5 minutes. Are you timing me?
Well, you're getting close. Go
Do you
ahead.
have a timer?
I'm timing, yes.
Okay, how much time do I have left?
3.5 minutes.
Thank you, it'll be plenty. All right, 96, 97, it went up 14.8 mils. And then we're talking about now a 4 millage increase. Now with the so-called dedication to technology and to bringing up staff development and all these things that this board professes, then I don't understand, if you look at the history, after the 5 mil increase, we went to 18.7. I put forth that next year we're going to see an increase. Mr. Tracy had said before the 4 mil increase was put forth that we would see about a 19 mil increase. When another member of the audience asked him last time, he was very diplomatic in answering. But I think this audience deserves an approximate ballpark figure of what type of millage we're going to face after this 4 mil increase. And I think that the community deserves that. And I don't want anybody being misled, because after this 4 mil, I would be willing to bet that we're going to see a tremendous increase in our taxes. So I just feel that we're all being led astray, and that it's getting to the point where these things are a joke, but they can't become a joke because it's about our children.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir, in front.
Jerry Vigilante, Hatfield Township. Well, I will say that these meetings are rarely dull. I have a prepared statement that I would like to read, please. Now that the school year is over, I would like to take this opportunity to share my positive experience and to thank a few people for what they've done for my son and myself in our first year in a North Penn school. My son attended Gwinnett Square, half a day in special education, the other half in regular kindergarten. Both he and I were exposed to some truly great people. Dr. Burke Stevenson and her office staff, including Sean Burkhart, were always a pleasure to talk to on the phone and in person when I was at the school. Thank you for learning who I was early in the year and for recognizing me throughout the rest of it. Thank you to Dr. Enters. Your advice and support has been greatly appreciated. Thank you and congratulations to June Brown. Thank you to my son's bus driver and aide for safely and pleasantly delivering him to school and home all those days. Thank you to all the people from the Home and School Association for helping me and for doing all those great things for the kids and their families. Thank you and good luck to Judy Clark. Thank you to all the volunteers, other staff members, my son's 5th grade buddy, and other older students who helped him, or anyone else who had anything to do with my son's first year in school. But most of all, a huge thanks to the people my son spent most of his time with, his kindergarten teacher, Caroline Crew, and his special education teachers, Connie Laba and Jack Fink, and Jack's aide, Fran Friel. These are some dedicated people. I'm sure they must have gotten tired of hearing from me every few days, but whenever I contacted them, they treated me as though my son was the only student they had. It was always a pleasure to talk to them, and they were always ready for me with words of advice or information. Whenever I stopped by the school unannounced, one of them was always willing to take a few minutes to talk to me. I was able to observe in the classroom during Education Week in November. I didn't just see a teacher teaching from a book. I saw a person with a lot of love and caring and attention giving to the growth of not only my child, but a lot of other children at the same time. With all the regular duties these people do during the day and the extra time they spent with my son and with me, always happily, with the children foremost in their minds, they are to be commended. Thank you all very, very much. My son moves on to 1st grade in the fall after having a very much improved and successful first year in North Penn School. I look forward to continued success. To his future teachers, I hope you will be ready for me and as good to my son as those mentioned here tonight were this past year. I had a great learning experience this year, and it was a lot of fun. Again, thank you all, and have a nice summer. And I would just like to add that I recently learned my son has received a certificate of recognition for greatest academic improvement in the classroom. I'm very proud of him. Thank you.
Thank you. Always good to get positive. Anyone else, please? Yes.
That was really nice, Jerry. Kathleen Malfi, Upper Gwinnett. I'd like to say something positive about the DARE program in case anybody has any doubts about it. My daughter went through it last year and loved it. She benefited greatly, I think, and as a volunteer in the school, I've noticed that Scott Clark, who's at Gwinnett Square from Upper Gwinnett, has great influence on lots of the students, not just the 5th graders who he actually teaches DARE to. He actually stops in and has lunch with the children, tries to meet children of different ages. Even after he's done with them in 5th grade, he follows them in 6th grade, and if there are any children that have had any problems or develop problems, he tries to deal with them personally and talk to them, take them aside, try to give them some guidance towards positive behavior. So I hope that it really continues because no matter nationally what that one study may have said, anyone who's done anything with statistics and research knows that you can make numbers say really whatever you want them to say. The other thing is, it seems to me that Mr. Weitz would be the most likely board member to propose any technology plan since he was an active, knowledgeable member of the Technology Strategic Planning team. Technology is growing so quickly that no matter what you choose today, you will have to upgrade hardware to keep up with the new software. Anyone who has a simple PC at home knows that yesterday's hardware doesn't have the capacity to handle today's software. The Technology Strategic Planning team was made up of professionals who work in the computer field every single day. They donated their expertise and their time to help this district, and I suggest you look at their plan again. It seems to me that Mr. Weitz has tried to analyze it and come up with a plan to fit your budget constraints as best as possible. Please try to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, in the back.
Good evening. My name's Vivian Heinrich. I'm from Montgomeryville. I am disappointed that you, as a board, have not taken action this evening on a technology plan. And I hear again that it is because you don't have enough information. It is your responsibility as board members to gather that information prior to when a vote is supposed to be taken. I am just recently in here, and I am finding out that information, and it is not really my responsibility to do so. And I feel like I have enough information to vote on this at this time. So I am again going to reiterate that I feel that you have not fulfilled your responsibilities to this community by either saying, yes, we are going to accept this technology plan, no, we're not going to, and these are the reasons why, or these are the changes that need to be made at this time so that we will be able to make it at the next meeting. I find it terribly disappointing. Thank you.
Yes, anyone else? Yes.
It's part of the plan, but this is not the plan, just a part of it. It's a $3 million plan.
June Yolkowski, Tomenson Township. It's unfortunate that Ed Bowes isn't here tonight because I'd first like to address the remarks he made to a member of the audience of citizens at the May 27th budget meeting. In our district program of studies, both at the middle school level and the high school level, we have many social studies courses, including an advanced placement high school course in American government and politics. I find it appalling, therefore, that the man who, as superintendent of schools, is, in a sense, our ultimate educator and in charge of instilling in our students the values and ideals of American government that I hold dear, would criticize a member of the public who has been attending these meetings for 8 years for requesting information that is all public information and for speaking out at these meetings. I find it particularly ludicrous that these remarks would come from a man who, in one of his first acts as superintendent, requested $50,000 a year from this school board for a newsletter to the residents of this school district. Apparently, the only information Bowes wants the public to have is the information he wants to feed them, not the information they, as concerned citizens, desire. I also find it unfortunate that Donna Mengel, sitting as board president last month, allowed these remarks, and I find it appalling that an elected official who depends on the vote of the electorate to be in that office would allow such remarks by the superintendent during the audience of citizens. I now would like to address one of the concerns I had last month that sparked Bowes' outrageous comments, and that is our dropout rate. Over the last 3 years, this has been running about 60 or 65 students a year on average, which is roughly about 8% of the high school student body. I realize this may be a small number compared to areas such as Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or perhaps very poor areas of Pennsylvania or other states. However, North Penn is a very wealthy community and one of the wealthiest districts, not just in one of the wealthiest counties, not just in Pennsylvania, but in the whole country. We spend, I believe, $8,000 or $9,000, if not more, per student each year. We have a teacher-to-student ratio, I believe, of 1 to something like 14 or 15. Many colleges would like to have those ratios. There is no reason why we have this many dropouts. Something is wrong. I don't think the answer is throwing more money at the problem. I think the answer is reprioritizing where our money is going and putting every possible cent into the students, not additional administrators, clerical staff, or what have you, or for that matter, the teachers. At this point, I am challenging this school board and the North Penn Education Association, which is the teachers union, to get together, form a committee, including many teachers, volunteers through the community, and find ways to help students they perceive are in trouble before they become dropouts. This could include counseling, it could include private one-to-one tutorial help, and anything else that we think could help these children stay in school. I find it appalling that a district as wealthy as this, with a highly educated adult population, is losing these students. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, yes, ma'am.
Linda Abram, Upper Gwynedd. I have to address the issue of technology, although I didn't come prepared tonight to discuss it. I sort of thought we were going to be delving more into the budget, which I'll get into in a minute. But I guess the issue is frustration, and for you folks, it's an issue of commitment. There are districts around us that have spent to the tune of $7 million. We are asking for an upgrade to the system here that is, from what I understand, in catastrophic need. And we are arguing over that. I'm not saying argument isn't good, but we've been round Patty's horn many times. We need to get on with this. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when we have to start talking about getting our buildings ready. Our kids are so far behind in technology, it's sad. It is absolutely sad. Sitting on a committee that has representation from public schools in Montgomery County, it is appalling to hear where North Penn sits in technology in comparison to some districts, even districts that you would consider those out in the boondocks. For the money that we have, I just cannot believe that we are at this point, and I feel for you, Mr. Weitz, because I am frustrated. You must be ready to jump off a building. With regards to the budget, I'd like to understand the process for next Thursday night. Is this an action meeting or a committee meeting next Thursday night?
Action meeting.
Okay.
Special action meeting.
It was my understanding when we discussed the budget last time that there was going to be further discussion. I guess my concern is what is the public going to see next Thursday night? I assume that you are prepared to vote. You have to vote next Thursday night on a budget. And quite frankly, I'm concerned, what are we going to find? I was under the impression, I guess I was misunderstanding, that there was going to be further discussion about specific areas that some of us are concerned about this evening, and I don't see that happening tonight. There will be obviously an audience of citizens. I know that is mandated. But I'd like to understand how this is going to work. Vicki, if you would. Yes, please.
First of all, I think the innuendo is that basically that you might be receiving a budget document after the vote when it's out in print and finding things that were not a part of these public discussions. We put this at ease. Mr. Tracy is not authorized, nor is he assuming authorization to remove anything that hasn't been discussed here as a part of our public discussions or to change any line items beyond the list that you received. If you read our last board meeting, there was a list with full disclosure there.
Yes.
You have now heard Mr. Hill announce and ask for opinions regarding perhaps the guidance counselor being added to that tentative list pending further decision-making by this board. In other words, it isn't eliminated and the door isn't shut on that, but we're not committed to it fully at this point in time.
Okay.
And nothing will be, to my knowledge, there should not be anything. There is no meetings going on internally that we're going to have something that wouldn't decided, and anything that would have to come forward, which is an issue Mrs. Mangle and Mr. Hill have to deal with, because we have not taken any further consensus. So unless you see consensus on any budget cuts that may come prior to the special action meeting, if there's something on the floor, I can't guarantee that, but it isn't happening between this meeting and the next, and the budget document without it coming forward for public discussion.
Earlier this evening, you had mentioned and referenced something about waiting for hard numbers. I quite frankly thought that you were talking about the budget with regards to staffing. I don't want to make that assumption, but yes, the waiting for hard numbers always worries me because when we open our doors in September, the kids are there waiting to be taught, and we have to have our people assigned by that time. So, I again don't want to make any assumptions. I trust that next Thursday we will be able to have some, specific understanding about what we're facing. I am concerned about some supply cuts that have been made to buildings. I know it's, I think, been across the board, but I understand we have to give and take in many areas. So there I am about the budget. Finally, I'd like to just talk about this coaching situation that this Mr. Byrne brought up earlier. I remember when he was here last time, and I know that Mr. Hill, you mentioned that the board will discuss this. I'm a little confused. Why is not this something that we can discuss at a meeting like this? In other words, the practice of hiring coaches in this district, we would all like to know how it works.
So would we.
I really think the more you push this under the table, the more irate these people are getting. We need to understand this. Because I've had my own personal experience, and I'd be able to stand up here for a few comments as well. But this is part and parcel of, I think, just helping us to feel better about a situation if we could understand it more fully. So, okay, thank you.
That concludes audience of citizens for the evening. Oh, you have another one? Excuse me. Okay, we have one more. You'll be the last.
This won't take long. This is on a different subject. I happen to notice that the contracted service, Dolores Muchetti from Tormenson Township, that the contracted services for special ed are coming up for a vote, and I know that it is a large increase from last year. I just would like to support the Easter Seal Society and the work that they do. I have a son in special ed, and the work that they do is absolutely marvelous. He has gone from 2/3 of his day in special ed to only needing occupational and physical therapy at this point in the course of 1 year, and the work they have done. And the Easter Seal Society, he has occupational therapy through them, and for $51 an hour, we are getting away very cheaply. They do excellent one-on-one work with him, and they not only work with him in a physical sense, they also support him by building up his self-esteem. They are available to me at any time I have a question. They will give me their home phone numbers to call them at any time. They are never too busy to spend the time with a parent, and I just want to support this. I know we're in a budget crunch and all that, but the children that do, I know that children aren't getting this unless they really, really need it. I know what I have to go through to get the documentation and all that has to be gotten to get this service, but it really is worth it, and I just want to support them and say they do a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our audience of citizens for this evening. Where do we stand on the tape? Should we take a break, or are we okay? Okay, we're all right. Let's move right ahead then. Superintendent's report. Let's go.
Okay, thank you. Before I begin, I'd like to say that Dr. Bose asked me to convey his apologies for not being here tonight. He had a prior family commitment. I'd also like to say that we just concluded a very successful school year. A lot of wonderful things happened in our school. We had a great graduation over the past week, and I'd like to thank the staff and the students. So I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to recommend the approval of salaries for the following classes of personnel for the 1997-98 school year as presented on file in the office of the board secretary. There are 8 classifications of employees listed, 1 through 8, on your agenda.
May I recommend that we await the other 2 board members? We're missing 2 board members at this time. That's why I thought perhaps you were going to take a break.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see where they are. Hold on. That's why we're 2 to start short.
I didn't see David for a little while there. I thought we were down to 4. We didn't even have our quorum anymore.
5.
No, I know. I miss David.
No, Sharice, you can't go to bed. Yes.
Can we take that?
We gotta have, we can't talk about it until we have a motion. Anybody have a song or?
I'm freezing. Can I go get my jacket?
Also, if we don't approve it, then what happens then? If we don't approve the 2%, what happens? I mean, based on what, no, based on what we change.
All right, we just, for you absent board members, not to criticize, 4A, I need a motion on item 4A. Anybody going to make a motion on 4A?
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Pat Mosey, second by Tom Clemens. Any questions? Yes, Mrs. Krieger.
Would the motioner and the seconder mind amending their motion and second to vote on number 7 separate? Or I'll have to vote on the whole thing?
You want to
separate that out?
Separate item 7? Is there, you agree?
I'll amend my motion.
I'll amend my second.
Thank you.
Well, I need a order of rules here, how I do that.
You just did it.
Just did it. We're just going to vote on the first, on the other 7 items.
6 and 8. Voting on 1 through 6 and 8.
1 through 6 and 8. Any questions on items 1 through 6 and 8?
Yes, I do. I have a question on number 1. It's food service. I have these asterisks on the salary sheet, and there's this explanation that employees with an asterisk next to their names have reached maximum rate for their category, and that that it's being recommended that people receive their 20-day periods over 20 periods at 2% average increment. What are we, I see the phrase that they've reached their maximum rate, and then I've got the special asterisk of the 2% average increment. Can someone explain that to me?
They've met the maximum as it relates to the salary classification, so the increment does not travel with them. It's a one-time increment.
It's being treated as a stipend, is what you're saying?
Being treated as an increment or a stipend.
On an hourly rate, and this is the total amount that it comes out to?
It's 2% of their yearly wage.
So basically, they're getting a 2% increase.
But they're getting a 2% raise, and their salary is still not raised. Excuse me. They're getting a 2% increment, and their salary is still frozen.
What? How does that happen?
Art, can I put it in my words maybe that I understand? What you're saying is that starting next year, 98, 99, they will still be at a salary that they are at today, and we would have to vote again for this 2%.
They would be at their 96, 97 salary.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
In other words, you don't give raises on top of raises,
right.
But the baseline salary isn't changing. I have you.
That's right. The baseline salary is not changing. Last year they were frozen. With the success that we have had this year attributable to performance, we didn't establish the rates that took them to a place where they had to max up. That was something, or max out. We inherited that. So we feel a one-time increment that does not travel with them.
So it's a bonus.
When was the last time this payroll salary schedule was evaluated?
Yeah. It's evaluated regularly each year. And those folks were frozen last year with no increment. They were frozen the year before with an increment.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Now we have a motion on A7.
We need a motion.
I need a motion for A7 on the administrator. Is that a motion for that?
So moved.
Mr. Mosley?
Second.
Mr. Clemens? Any questions on A7?
I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's David.
Oh, I just want to know that What do we have in the budget for the administrator? Have we automatically put 1% in there?
There is nothing in the budget for administrators, and our plan would be, if you make any change in administrative salaries henceforth, that would come from your budget reserve, and that's the function of the budget reserve.
No, you will see, if you look at Mr. Tracy's sheet from our last meeting, a part of his bringing the pluses and the negatives, he took out the initial 2% and placed in under the additions to the budget a 1% increase.
But if you look at his worksheet for the budget reserve, you will see that administrative salaries are budgeted at their existing salary for 96, 97.
Vicki, that 1% was put in that column of things.
It's within the math of what he has.
If you look at the line items for 49 administrators, you will see that there is no increase above and beyond the 96, 97 salary. And the discussion that we have had is if an increase is granted on the 14th pay, as per item B, 4B of the superintendent's report, that would come from the budgetary reserve.
So he has not budgeted anything then?
There is nothing budgeted.
Then I'm confused. What are we voting on here?
You're voting so that the administrative team can be paid beginning July 1 at last year's salary.
Oh, okay.
We're not at this point approving an actual increase in salaries. That's forthcoming in December or November, whenever it's prepared.
The list you have in front of you will show this year's salary.
Okay.
Right.
Any other
I
questions?
see. Okay.
It still appears to me like we're doing this twice. I'm just,
Yeah,
I
see, I
mean,
thought
why
the salaries-
was number 7 put in Part A anyway? When item B is the administrator's compensation plan?
Right.
I don't
get it.
That's the same question I'm asking.
I know Art Wood can answer this, but it's my understanding 7 is there to start in July.
Was before 4B was put in place, we had to have a method to pay administrators coming July 1. So we placed under A7 the salaries, just as we did. We can't pay anyone in a new fiscal year unless they're acted upon by the board. We did that, and I apologize for the redundancy, and then all of a sudden, 4B was placed on the agenda. So what you're really voting, you're voting this. There's no change in what you're voting.
I know, but Art, didn't you just tell us that on the list of those food service people that their salaries were that were voted on included that 2%?
Right. 2%.
So why do you include the increase for them?
No, I understand.
Because the administrators, according to the direction we had, are frozen.
I understand what he's saying.
In this vote, we're voting for a frozen salary, and the next one we approve the plan. The next one is to approve the plan of a committee to bring
Come June
forward a
30th, the year's over, he needs authorization from the board to continue to pay people. Will they pay him a 2% increase?
I know that, Pat. I've done this
No,
for
I know.
years. I know
I'm
this.
trying to understand it myself.
And it's to vote on the salaries, whereas the next is to approve the general game plan without any specifics
No money
attached to
attached to
it.
the game plan, except the 1% that will be discretionary in accordance with your committee. But all we're trying to do as we enter a new pay period, beginning July 1, is have those people on a salary that is their 96, 97 salary.
Well, then
Any other
I'm sorry
questions?
for asking to separate it out. That was not my understanding.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Okay, 4B, recommend approval of the 1997-98 Administrators' Compensation Plan.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second. Mr. Mosey and Mr. Clements. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Have a roll call.
Mr. Allen?
Yes?
Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mrs. Krieger?
No.
Mr. Mosey?
Yes.
Mrs. Scheer?
Yes,
Yes.
it's forthcoming.
Mr. Whites?
No.
I have 5 voting yes and 2 voting no.
Passes.
C, recommend approval of employee assistance contract with the Penn Foundation effective July 1, 1997 through June 30th, 1998 at a total cost of $25,000.
So moved.
Mrs. Krieger, a second.
Second.
Mr. Allen. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
D, recommend approval for $8,000 for summer work for school psychologists for the 1997-98 school year, items 77-97.
So moved.
Mrs. Krieger. I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Mosey, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
E, recommend approval for 1,365 summer guidance hours at a curriculum rate of $25 per hour for a total not to exceed $34,125, found in item 82-97.
So moved.
Mr. Allen.
Second.
Mr. Weiss, any questions?
Yes,
Mrs. Krieger.
Go ahead. I'll wait till you're done.
Judy, when do these summer guidance hours start?
They can't start until after you approve the budget, so it will be after June 26th. And primarily, they're done based on need all throughout the summer, and we have the counselors in right before school starts because we have tremendous registration then.
Okay, what am I to tell parents who are trying to find guidance counselors at the secretary level who are being told by secretaries they won't be back for 5 weeks?
Well, that's not necessarily true. I would call one of the principals there. They have their schedules.
Should I just forward those
Yes.
people to the principal? Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Mr. Mosey, your question?
This is for existing students, is this correct?
Existing, if their schedule changes, and incoming students.
I just wonder why we wait till the summer to do this, if some of this couldn't be done during the course of the school year or
Well,
before
there's
school.
lots of schedule, with the number of students we have, there's tremendous schedule changes that occur. And with new students coming in, the one thing that you don't want to see happen is the first day of school to roll around and you have students waiting in line that don't have schedules.
All right.
This really has been preventative for that over
So
the
it's really
years.
a pre-registration type of thing as you were.
Right, but when we get new students, they also get tested to see what levels they would go in. You have to access the records from the other schools. There's an awful lot that has to be done.
So the majority of this is for new students.
I would say half and half. Then you have also have the schedule changes that occur throughout the summer with our own students, and that happens frequently.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item 76-97, recommend approval of medical director, medical examiners, dental examiners, and team physicians for football as listed for the 1997-98 school year.
Mrs. Krieger. Second. Mr. Clemens, any questions? All those in favor
Yes,
say
sir.
aye.
Yes, sir.
We have a question. Mr.
Yes,
Mosey.
I do. How are these people selected? Can anyone tell me? Is it just they volunteer,
Let
a
me
lottery, or?
We are very grateful for the people that serve. We've been paying the doctors and the dentists the same salary probably for the last 7 years, and if you look at it comparatively speaking to other school districts, it's low. So anytime we get someone who offers to assist us, we're real happy to take
They
them.
volunteer more or less.
Well, they send in their application, and we will take them. The group that we have is all that we have coming in to do these
Because I
things.
checked back last year and I saw couple names from there. I thought, gee, it's nice. But I thought, gee, I wonder how we go.
They like us. They like us.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we need to change the tapes on here, so we're going to, it's 25 after. Let's try to get back here by 9:30.
Second.
No, Mr. Mosey and Mrs. Krieger. Any questions? All those, you have a question?
Just one. I just want, and I meant to ask this for the last one, the medical examiners and the medical clerks, Judy, that also pertains to the eye stuff that we do too, right?
It's the medical exam and the dental exams that are required in the specific years of kindergarten 6 and 11 or kindergarten 3 and 7.
Does that include a vision exam?
The nurses do the vision screening.
Our nurses do that?
Yeah, this is dental and medical.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item 74-97, recommend approval that representational consent as defined in Administrative Regulations number 5125.1 and number 5125.2 be granted for the collection of student information for the 97-98 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mosey, Mrs. Krieger, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item 75-97, recommend approval for the 97-98 North Penn School District Education Plan on file in the Office of Special Education and Student Services.
So moved. Mr. Clemens.
Second.
Mr. Allen, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Keep it moving.
Item number 78-97, recommend approval for Easter Seal Society to provide physical and occupational therapy services for the 97-98 school year at an amount not to exceed $180,000.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Krieger, Mr. Mosey, any questions?
Question.
Yes.
Mrs. Clark, is this an increase?
Oh, yes. It's an $80,000 increase from last year.
Okay, because I saw you shake your head when the lady from the audience made the remark about it being an increase.
No, it's an increase.
It is an increase.
It is an increase. but
Thank you.
it's
Any other
still
questions?
more
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item number 65-97, recommend approval for the adoption of a science textbook as listed.
So moved.
Mrs. Krieger.
Second.
Mr. Mosey, any questions?
Just one?
Yes.
Dr. Hassler, what grade is this again? I'm sorry.
This is for 12th grade advanced placement chemistry book in approximately 30.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Recommend approval for modifications in the standardized testing program for 97-98 school year.
So moved.
Mr. Mosey. Second. Mr. Weiss, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item number 68-97, recommend approval of hours and salaries for the 97 IASA Title I non-public elementary summer reading remedial reading and mathematics program. I'm going as fast as I can.
Don's got you going so fast you can't read straight.
You don't miss it when you have remedial reading.
We're sitting next to him.
That's great. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Krieger, Mr. Mosey, any questions?
I just have one question
Yes.
on these two Title I programs, because I just need somebody to explain to me, Title I is money that we get to provide these programs, but is that just for salaries? Why are we assessing fees for this?
It's a self-sufficient program.
Fees for what you heard
For these
before, the
programs.
summer
Yeah,
program.
Is that the next one?
That's an additional program that we're offering this summer on our own.
Okay, so that's N, not M, right?
No.
It's neither one.
No, that's neither one. What we're running in the summer is an additional program now, and we targeted just the Chapter 1 reading students to begin with. So that's a program we've started ourselves this summer. It's
neither of these.
Okay,
It's neither
so-
of these.
So the children who are participating in this are not having to pay for this program?
They're not having to pay for the program during the school year or
summer?
or the non-publics in the summertime.
Okay,
But we are running a summer program where we are assessing a fee.
but it's not this program?
It's not this program.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because I was a little...
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item number 84-97, recommend approval to submit a Title I program application for 1997-98 in the amount to be released by the Pennsylvania Department of Education, $397,421, and approval of parent involvement activities as listed in the Administrative Regulation number 1270.
Need a motion? Mrs. Shear?
Second.
And Mr. Allen, any questions?
Question. Is that an amount pretty close to what we expect, what we hope, what we got this year, or how did we get there?
Pretty much what we expect. They'll release a number of figures, and then they'll release a final figure, but pretty much what we're...
Pretty close to.
What did we get last year, Dr. Hassler? Roughly, if you don't know.
I think it's about the same. The program is the same as last year.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Judy, the parent involved?
This actually isn't mine.
No?
Title I isn't mine.
No.
Don, if I could, we go into these next 4 or 5 items here. I think the same question is going to be if this is an increase or comparable to last year, maybe to save time of having to go around the board and ask questions. Whoever's responsible after Dr. Hassler reads the motion, if they could indicate whether this is the same or an increase, just so the board knows where we're going on this. That could save some time, rather than have us ask the same question on each
Good point.
individual item.
We're voting on item N now. All those in favor of N?
I have a
Wait a
question.
minute, we got another question. Vicky Shear.
Judy, this parent involvement activities, no, I'm sorry, it's not you. Who said chapter 1? I thought I had Sharice's name on it, maybe Dr. Hassel, maybe. On this, I saw Sharice's name, it gets confusing here too. On this parent involvement activities list I saw, I don't recall ever seeing that before. Is that something new being implemented?
I don't think it's new. I don't think it's new to North Penn. I know it's not new to the Title I reading program. That's normally a part of Title I reading.
How are the parents informed of that? It isn't in our discipline code.
I believe it's part of-
in our parent information sheet that goes out.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure how it's done, but I know that's part of the requirements of Title I, that parents are informed of this. I believe there may be newsletters that are sent out.
I think Dr. Teresi does send out a newsletter and has in the past.
And I think there's forms, too, that go out.
I just think somewhere they should be placed. If there's something that goes out there, or if there's some sort of sheet that's done up, perhaps they should sit in some prominent area. There have been in the past, Judy, where, or Dr. Hassler, for you, if it's under your territory here, essentially, there was issues where a child was in the Chapter 1 program, Title I program, and the parents were very surprised. They found out a couple months later. And they were really stunned because they had associated Chapter 1 with a socioeconomic standard, and knowing that they were up into 6-digit income figures, they were really surprised. So I know it goes by school, and a lot of parents don't realize the change, that it's the building that qualifies, as opposed to the student.
Chapter 1 director, going back in my past history, there has to be very heavy involvement with the Parent Advisory Council and a sign-off by the Parent Advisory Council, or you don't get your funding. So I know from that perspective, there is a lot of involvement on behalf of.
Well, I just say let's make sure that's followed through with. I don't know whether it was just a particular slip at the building or not.
Any other questions?
I'd follow up on that one.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item number 84-97, also recommend approval to submit an application for the 1997-98 in an amount of $54,186 under the Drug-Free Schools and Communities Grant Program.
Do you know if that's the same amount as last year?
Slight increase.
Huh? Slight increase. I need a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Mr. Mosey.
I moved second.
Mrs. Shear, any questions? Yes.
I would just like to, at this time, interject my feelings, especially about the Drug-Free Schools program. But at some point, I'd like to know, is this just a program for the elementary level students?
Well, it's not a program. This is just asking for your permission to submit an application. And when the grant is completed, I will share that with you. What we have used this for the last 7 years that I can recall, is that we have purchased extra services from Turning Point, outside counselors that are drug and alcohol counselors that are available to run groups for students that have those difficulties with our student assistance program that operates in the secondary schools and as needed in the elementary schools.
Okay, so that's different from the DARE situation.
Yeah, the DARE you'll see further down.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
P, also on item 8497, recommend approval to submit an application for a Title VI grant for 1997-98 in the amount estimated to be $42,670. And that's an increase too.
So moved. One question?
Mrs. Krieger, I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Weiss. Yes, Mrs. Krieger.
This says that this Title VI is for the Improving America's Schools Act of '94.
It's part of that.
Is it program development?
Program and not.
It's not facilities.
Right, it's program.
Program improvements. In any particular areas, or?
What we're looking to spend the dollars on this year is we want to supplement some of the library allocations to those schools that have summer library.
Okay.
Also look at funding a reading program next summer. And finally, looking at adding some to our School to Work program.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Q, also part of item 8497, recommend approval to submit an application for Title II Mathematics and Science Grant for the 1997-98 school year in an amount estimated to be $37,717.
So moved.
Mrs. Krieger.
Second.
Mr. Mosley, any questions? All those in favor?
Is this an increase?
Slightly, not very much at all.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
R, also part of item 84-97, recommend approval to apply for a drug-free schools and community drug abuse resistance education grant for 1997-98 in an amount to be released by the Pennsylvania, I think means Department of Education. Last year's amount was $15,000.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Allen, Mrs. Shear.
Question?
Yes, Mrs. Krieger.
Okay, then getting back to my question in regards to the DARE program. Is the DARE program strictly for use at the elementary level?
We have an extension Dr. Miller had worked on in the middle school level as a review, so we've extended it from the elementary level.
Because at the secondary level, so far, it's been covered in ways under the curriculum, under health.
Correct.
It's my understanding that as a part of the health curriculum in 8th grade, there's a little bit more information that's given to the children in regards to the physical side effects and things like that. Is that correct?
That's correct. They have quite an extensive coverage of that information.
Even though we're now covering the physical impacts of these things, I still see that there may be a need here in our district to again visit maybe at the 9th grade prior to our students going into the high school. Some kind of revisit to the DARE program and the things that the DARE program introduces to our children in 5th grade. I think a lot happens with our students between 5th grade and 9th grade prior to going to the high school. And I'd like to see, following the physical and health things that are introduced to our students in 8th grade, I'd like to explore different areas maybe in the upcoming health curriculum review or however the administrators feel that we need to proceed, but to also look at reintroducing some of the components that are first introduced in 5th grade, more of a 9th grade level for our students to really reinforce a preventative mentality in our students. I see and I hear all the time from parents whose children are in the secondary level, and that still remains one of their main concerns is the peer pressure and the introduction to substance abuse, things like that in the schools. I know that our problems here in North Penn may not be as great as other places in the nation, but at the same time, I'd really like us to take a look at ways to develop something for our 9th graders or something that's age appropriate at the secondary level to just kind of reinforce those messages that first came to them in 5th grade.
Mrs. Krieger, your points are very well taken. In fact, one of the problems that we reviewed a few years ago was how can we make the connection with students who move on to the middle levels, and of course now our middle levels are 7, 8, and 9. How can we make a connection between what they were learning in elementary school and keeping what they learned going in middle school and then hopefully on through high school. It was at that point that we established at one school a Parents Who Dare program, which is now in all 3 schools. And we were fortunate enough, as you may recall, for this year to get a $1,000 grant from the Montgomery County Bar Association so that that group of parents can provide programming for parents and students. Granted, it's not on an everyday basis, but certainly on a periodic basis throughout the year to cover the same kind of issues that you were just discussing. So that is one way that we have addressed that.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item number 66-97, recommend approval to engage Chartwell Advisory Group to pursue the recovery of sales and use taxes relative to the North Penn School District's construction projects. Fees for this service shall be 45% of all sums recovered. If no refunds are obtained by Chartwell Advisory Group, no fees or costs will be charged to the North Penn School District.
Need a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
I've been doing it all
Mosley,
night.
Mr. Allen? Any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Art, would you explain this to the folks, please?
Yeah, this is something relatively new, and Chartwell has formed this organization, and as we speak, they're working for many of our neighbor school districts. Actually, we will write into our spec for the high school and into the spec for NAP and the modular classrooms. We've included in our bid document that the successful bidders must cooperate with Chartwell, and that's all, of course, contingent upon your approval tonight. What happens is the sales tax is paid by the contractor to the Department of Revenue in Harrisburg. And Chartwell then, with our permission and the cooperation of our vendor, sends a team of people into the vendor's office, goes through all the records that the vendor has or the contractor has on file, extrapolates the tax that has been paid, and then petitions the Commonwealth for the return of the tax. It's been quite successful for lots of school districts. It's kind of found money, but the work involved in doing it and the expertise these folks have developed.
If I can take that one step, I mean, I'm familiar with this.
Right.
The obvious question people will ask is, why are those vendors paying the tax?
Because they have to by law.
Right. Make sure people know that they're following the law when they pay that use tax on what they purchase. It's up to us as a district to ask for the relief. The vendors can't do it on their own.
That's right. If they buy a $50,000 transformer, an electrical contractor buys a $50,000 transformer to put into one of our projects, he pays 6% sales tax. That is what we're recovering. Now, one of the reasons I've encouraged the board to bid a lot of that, separate from putting it in the base bid for the contractor, and if you recall, we did that big time at Penndale. We bought all the unit ventilators, we bought all the electrical switchgear, is because we're tax exempt. So we saved it up front without paying a Chartwell to recuperate it. Yes.
Question about... I was going to say, how did we do it in the past?
We've never done it in the past.
So we've lost this money.
We've lost this money, but Chartwell is kind of relatively 3 years old or new. And it's a whole new concept. It was just a presentation to Perkiomen Valley. They're using them. Methacton's using them. Wissahickon's using them. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. But the work involved, the work at the Commonwealth level is difficult. It involves court proceedings and all kinds of things to recoup this money.
Is there
Is this something
I think we should go back to the old way.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how much we might be able to...
No, I don't, David. I mean, we talked, when I first met with these folks, and I had introduced this concept many months ago to Mr. Kelly, and when we first talked to them, we said if it's $100,000, we're going to net $55,000, and it's pretty much found money.
I mean, in terms of what you'd like to do for the high school, where you'd like all of our contractors to cooperate, and obviously from your description, it seems like a very labor-intensive task to go into somebody's offices, look at all their records, calculate the tax, petition Harris, whatever. If they cooperate, is there any chance of reducing the rate for future projects where there is cooperation, where they might not charge us 45%? Any possibility?
No, they're set at the 45% rate. The only thing we're doing by including it in our bid documents, we're telling the successful bidder up front that downstream 3 years, we're coming into your office, or 2 years, or whatever the project time is, because you don't do it until the project's basically complete. We're getting there. We're telling them head on. We don't know that we're going to get resistance on the Penndale. We hope that we won't.
So the cooperation doesn't involve, we're going to make sure we notify you as we pay sales tax. The cooperation is when they knock on the door, let them in.
It's all going back in their records after the fact.
Mr. Allen.
Question. Art, why can't we simply stipulate that the vendor cooperate by forwarding to us the inventory of what our money has bought us? I would think we would have that.
We're doing a little more of that in the stipulation that's in the bid. But here we're going back to with an unannounced process
That we haven't
to the people that built Penndale and saying, and this is a record, this is an interesting record-keeping thing. I mean, to see all the invoices that you've paid for the Penndale project, I mean, you can imagine how many things were bought to build that building.
I know there were a lot, but you mean to tell me that we don't really, when bills are being paid one way or another, whether it's through the general contractor or whether it's through a separate bid, that we don't have the inventory? I know when I wanted the ESC building inventory, I could get down to the silver hooks, coat hooks, and the trash cans, and all of those, which can take it times 6%, and I've got our...
I can tell you what you're spending, but when you see a breakout, electrical switchgear installed, that's labor and material. Chartwell has to separate the material from the labor, and if you ask the contractor going in, if you had a stipulation in your bid that they had to provide that as they pay it, I can assure you the price of the bid could go up considerably.
Well, I have a real problem when we're talking 55% here is our recovery, and 45%, we're losing 45 cents on a dollar to use this, and I wondered, why is it that we can't do this through our own billing process?
You don't have that right, and I think when I have Mr. Bartle examine this contract prior to executing, I'm asking you to approve it. Mr. Bartle will actually examine the contract. I think you'll find this is so labor intensive, and there are such legal costs. This company maintains a full legal department in Harrisburg.
No, it's above most
Can I
legal
ask a question
contingency
then?
fees.
To piggyback
I mean, that
on you,
usually
Jen?
runs 25 to 40%.
I guess my first question would be, are there any previous projects other than the 3 that you've listed here tonight that would be used, or that this group would be going to Harrisburg on our behalf for? Any previous construction?
We've missed ESC, Walton, Bridal, and Gwinnett Square.
What do you mean we missed?
There's a 3-year limitation if you read mine.
Great. Okay. Number 2, is this something, Mr. Bartle, that your office could handle for us? Since these people have such an extensive legal department, is this something that perhaps maybe you would be interested in?
We're not geared up to do that. Not geared to do the investigation. It's just not the kind of law that we practice, and we don't have the. Essentially, what you need is people that are willing to go out and review books, etc. Quite frankly, you don't want to be paying lawyers $85 an hour to do that, and we're not geared up to do it anyway.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that this wasn't something.
I think we have to understand that these people, they don't just go to Built-Right, the general contractor. They go to every subcontractor that worked for those people, and they base the sales tax is not based on what the contractor got charged for that transformer. The 6% is paid on what that electrical contractor paid his electrical transformer supplier. So if he pays $100,000 for the transformer, he pays 6% added on to the state. He then marks it up to the general contractor. So you can't go to just one office and get all this information. It's not there. You must go to every single subcontractor and say, show me the invoice that you paid for that transformer for this project. And from that number, you calculate your 6%. This is a very, very labor-intensive thing.
Well, how did school districts do that before groups like this were formed?
They never
did. We didn't get.
We lost the money.
We didn't get the money back. This is found money, as far as I'm concerned.
I have a question, Art. You're saying that hopefully in the future you'll write the specs where they will break it out, so perhaps we won't have to hire these people.
You have to hire these people. All you're asking for is cooperation. In talking to a contractor that has gone through this process, he said, Art, I can't imagine someone can spend that much time, because I was trying to verify the 45%. Why? He said, if you would see what it takes and what they go through to recover this, it's an incredible process.
Then my next question is,
I just have...
It's just a matter of procedure then. We're being asked to approve this tonight, but Mr. Bartle has not seen the contract.
That's correct, and that's...
Are we putting the cart before the horse here?
Not really, because if he disagrees, if he disagrees with the contract that's been examined by solicitors in 57 school districts, I think, in the Commonwealth. Now, that doesn't say Frank won't find a problem with it, but typically the way we work, when his office reviews any contract and we make the changes, we don't enter into the contract unless the person agrees to the changes. So we're starting the process here to allow us to take the contract to Mr. Bartle. I don't want to go to Mr. Bartle and up front have him investigate this if we're not, and then bring it back to you afterwards. I would prefer to go this way.
Frank, are you comfortable with it?
Well, I would just add the language then, subject to the review of the North Penn School District Solicitor to the motion, and then that way we've accomplished Art's intent.
Thank you.
Okay, I have another question, Mr. Hill.
Yes, go ahead.
Art, who is your lead contact person with Chartwell Advisory Group?
I thought you'd ask me that. I'd have to go back and look. He has visited here many times, and we just recently met, and I had him produce a list of other districts that are using his firm.
Okay, just forward that.
Yeah.
And lastly, to your knowledge, Mr. Wood, are there any employees of Chartwell Advisory Group Limited that have ever worked for the North Penn School District, either as a professional employee, administrator, or solicitor?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Now we're going to, and who made the motion? Who made the second?
I think it was Pat.
Are you agreeable to that amendment to the motion to add, subject to review of the North Penn Council?
Yes.
I am.
I am.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item 70-97, recommend approval to award a 3-year chiller maintenance agreement to Delaware Valley York Incorporated in the amount of $16,952 for 1997-98, $17,460 for 1998-99, and $17,984 for 1999-2000. This agreement covers the chillers at North Penn High School and Hatfield, Gwinnett Square, Bridle Path, and Walton Farm Elementary Schools.
So moved.
Second. I'm assuming this is food service equipment?
I second.
This
I second.
You second.
This is air conditioning?
Any questions?
Yeah, is this air conditioning?
This is air conditioning. This is the major chiller that cools the building. And quite frankly, at Hatfield and high school, if you have 10 minutes downtime, school's out.
I know.
I'm exaggerating somewhat.
Okay.
But without a brick, you can't open the windows.
All those in favor say aye. Did I hear ayes? Aye. Opposed? No, passed.
Item number 81-97, recommend approval of insurance package for the 1997-98 fiscal year.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mosey, Mr. Allen, any questions?
Just like to make a comment, if I can. Mr. Hill, this has been a little bone of contention with me since I've been on the board, and I asked Mr. Kelly a couple times when he was finance director to look into this. And I will just say, if you look at your green sheet, that Mr. Wood did renegotiate these fees, and these fees are down from last year. We've saved some thousands of dollars here by...
Because you scared him.
No, I just didn't scare him. I just want to commend him. I think he
Asked me to do my job.
He did it, and he did a good job. And he went back and bargained from position of strength, as we should.
Very good. Check one.
So I thank him.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item number 72-97, recommend bid awards for years 1997-98, 1998-99 to Petron Oil Corporation for number 2 heating fuel oil in the amount of 0.5873 cents per gallon, diesel fuel winter blend in the amount of 0.6373 cents per gallon.
Excuse me, Dr. Hasser. It's my mistake, not Mrs. Dirksen. I need to amend that if you would. If you look at the green sheet, it should read, number 2 heating fuel oil in the amount of 0.5873 per gallon, comma, diesel fuel in the amount of 0.6173 per gallon, and then the winter blend. I omitted the regular diesel fuel that's a tad cheaper by 2 cents than when we have to go to winter blend.
Do I have a motion on the amendment? Need a motion.
Who made?
Somebody.
Oh.
Mr. Clemens?
Second.
Mr. Mosey? Any questions on fuel oil? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Recommend award of an integrated pest management service for a 3-year period commencing on July 1, 1997, and ending on June 30th, 2000, to Western Termite and Pest Control for all the North Penn School District facilities at a cost of $6,048 per year for the 3-year period. This cost is based on an annual payment. The proposal was solicited by sealed quotation on May 21st, 1997.
Looks good.
Need a
So
motion?
moved.
Mrs. Shear? Need a second?
Second.
Mr. Weiss, any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Freed.
What happened to Early?
Early did not sharpen their pencil enough, unfortunately, and just barely missed the bid. I do have a copy of that somewhere I can share with you.
Can you forward that to me, please, Art?
Yeah, in fact, I'll
Any other
give you
questions?
this one.
Thank you.
It was very, very close. It was by about a couple $100, but then Western held their price for 3 years, whereas Ehrlich had a 4% increase per year.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved.
Item 83-97, recommend award of System 600 maintenance service for a 3-year period commencing on July 1, 1997, and ending on June 30th, 2000, to Landis and Stafa for North Penn High School, Penndale and Penfield Middle Schools, Gwinnett Square, Montgomery, and Walton Farm Elementary Schools, and District Facilities Office at the cost of $46,900 per year for the 3-year period.
So moved.
Mr. Weiss. Need a second? Mr. Mosey. Any questions?
Yes, sir. Art, what is the System 600 maintenance service?
System 600 maintenance service is our energy management system that is controlled by John Strobel out of the facilities office, and he is in direct contact with all these systems to a mode. The advantage, of course, with this contract is we, as you can probably see, we get 60% off in other buildings where we don't have an energy management system, and that involves Gwynmore, Inglewood, and General Nash, where we buy parts for their temperature control systems, but this system runs the entire building. When somebody calls and says that their room is hot and the humidity is high, John responds to the building principal by saying, I just called that room up on the computer in my office, the temperature is 71 and the humidity is 46. So, I mean, it's the heart of our system, and I need to tell you, with this company, all of the software upgrades over this full period of time are included in this price.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Is this more than we're currently paying?
Yeah, it is, because we're for the first time coming out of warranty on Penfield, Bridle Path, Gwinnett Square, and Walton Farm.
We're already out of.
That's my question.
The initial contract?
5 years old?
Initial warranty. You typically only get 1-year warranty. We have a tendency to write 2-year warranties, and that's not a popular.
Sure, you got a question?
Yeah, explain to me though, Art, you named that, and Walton Farm's on this list, yet Bridle Path is not?
It is.
It is? Am I missing it?
Yeah, it's
I don't see
North
it
Penn
on
High
there.
School, Penndale, Penfield, Bridle Path, Gwinnett Square.
Not on my agenda.
They left it off the agenda.
I'm sorry, look at the green sheet.
It's on the green sheet.
It's on the green sheet.
The motion will be amended to say,
Well, we have to put Bridle Path on then.
Why don't we, what else is missing? I guess just...
Well, Art, that's what I wanted to explain, because Pembroke's not on here yet, Penfield. How is it that one got on and one didn't?
Pembroke does not have an energy management system. Penfield does.
It should.
But that's what, while we're on this, then obviously I thought at first it was just all our new schools that had extended expansion to it.
It's the schools...
And yet I see some of the older schools have been added
We've
on.
upgraded. The schools that we've upgraded.
So it's not out of the question, really, for some of the older schools to have the system added?
We would show a payback in energy saving, probably, and it's something that we keep looking at. I mean, it does all of our duty cycling. For an example, if we want to shut down from 4 in the afternoon until 8 in the morning, this computer controls that. And we shut down fans, or we run them we take the temperature down to whatever the set point is that John calls for at the time. It's the technology you need, and ideally, it would be wonderful.
But if you evaluate the return on this, what we save in our energy costs as opposed to the initial investment in the system.
We've done so many other things from an energy management standpoint, like taking young people in the summer and insulating our buildings that were never insulated, that we're down pretty rock bottom on our energy costs.
Okay, so is Bridle Path the only amendment we make to this, or
Any other
addition?
questions?
Okay.
As amended, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Item BA-8, recommend award of the following bids for athletic medical supplies, athletic supplies and equipment, technology education equipment at Pembroke and Penfield, physical education uniforms, literature books, school bus tires and tubes, and asphalt paving.
So moved.
Dr. Hesser, I would just remind the board that
Krieger and Mr. Allen.
on school bus tires and tubes, you're rejecting all bids and we're buying off a state contract.
Any questions?
So maybe you need to sever that.
Break it out, you mean?
Which one?
What?
School
Bus tires and tubes, we're recommending that you reject all bids and we buy off a state contract.
All right, that's been
I'll
said.
accept it.
What's the advantage to that, Art?
Lower prices.
Cheaper.
Sometimes after we bid, we find with our volume in most products that our prices are better than the state contract, but after we open bids, we always go back and review the state contract prices, and if they're lower, we'll reject.
So we're voting on all of the items listed except school bus tires and tubes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Recommend acceptance of the following gift to the district at the North Penn High School by Ms. Joanne Orr of landscape plants in the amount of $500.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Krieger, any questions?
No, just thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you,
Orr.
Mrs. Orr.
Yes, she was here this evening. She's left, but thanks. And I assume, Mr. Wood, that these landscape plants going to North Penn High School won't be where you're digging.
They're around the sign at the main entrance.
Okay.
And it's been going on for a number of years, and we've just now really recognized that after she's reached that type of...
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Personnel, recommend approval of the following personnel items listed A through H.
So moved.
Mr. Allen.
Wait,
Have a second?
Second.
Mr. Weiss. Any questions?
yes, one.
Yes.
Number 3, that position, is that the one that's being asked for next year? Is that the new one?
The page on.
Or is that EA9? Or is that replacing the gentleman who retired?
Yes, it's a replacement position.
Okay.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. So moved.
Before I move on, at this time, on behalf of the administration, I'd like to thank Dr. Mangano for her years of service to the district, and on a personal note, for really helping me get acclimated to the district as I came on board, for all our work in strategic planning. Thanks, Sam.
You will not be here next week, Mrs. McKenna?
Probably not.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
On behalf of the whole board, we appreciate your services to the district.
Thank you.
Very much.
Item BA-13, recommend ratification approval of additions to the support staff substitute list for the 1996-97 school year.
Where are we?
Wait a minute.
Where are we?
You haven't done retirements or resignations?
Yeah, he did A through H. We voted on all of
You
them
did it all
now.
together? I pardon.
Oh, you pulled a fast one
Thank
on
you.
us. Oh, wait a minute
Don's
now.
starting to rub off on you.
See, it works.
Wait a minute.
Jeez.
I have something else to say, Mr. Hill,
Yes.
then, in that regard.
Yes.
It was my, is this on BA11? Number 1, D1. This is Mrs. Bennett from Pembroke, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, I just want the board to know what a tremendous loss I feel losing Mrs. Bennett is for the district, but personal desires, her husband's retirement, things like that, she finally had to make the very tough decision to retire and enjoy the rest of her life. I guess she's moving to the shore as well. So I just want to thank her for all she did on behalf of my own child and many other 7th graders who went through Pembroke, who had her for a reading teacher. She's one of the best, and I'm sad to see her go.
Here, here. We have before us, I need a motion on 4A, which is item BA 13. I need a motion.
BA 13. So moved.
Mr. Mosey?
Yeah.
Who seconds this? Somebody second it.
I second. I can't
Mr. Clem?
second.
4A, didn't you?
I said it's 4A, but it's BA 13 item.
Leave of absence.
No.
No, support staff, I'm sorry.
Substitute.
Two.
I thought it's number
2, which is item number BA 13.
Right.
4AA2.
Right.
Right, okay.
Right.
BA 13.
BA 13. Pay attention.
Straight.
BA.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Item number BA-14, recommend approval of the 1997 summer custodial maintenance crew members.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Clemens, Mr. Mosey, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Item number BA-15, recommend approval of student travel.
So moved.
Mr. Allen.
Second.
Mr. Weiss, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Item BA-16, informational items, professional status being recommended, granted to professional staff that are listed.
So moved.
No vote, go ahead.
No vote.
Oh, no vote?
No, just information.
Okay, and BA-17 is the vandalism report, which is attached.
That's information.
That's information.
Under other business, recommend appointment of Deborah Schmidt as tax collector for the 1997-98 school year, real estate taxes for Line Lexington residents of the school district in Bucks County at an annual salary of $600.
So moved.
Mr. Mosey? Second. Mr. Weiss?
Can I just ask a question?
Yes, time to question.
Approximately how many residents do we have there?
More than one.
Only Mrs. Schmidt.
I was going to say, I mean, are there even like 5 people that live there?
That's enough to cover her taxes.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
B, recommend election of William Roman as non-member treasurer of the Board of School Directors for a one-year term effective July 1, 1997 through June 30, 1998, and establishment of a bond in the amount of $5,000 with the premium to be paid by the school district.
So moved. Second.
Mrs. Krieger, Mr. Mosey, any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Recommend election of Kenneth L. Weir as Secretary of the Board of School Directors effective July 1, 1997 through June 30th, 2001, and the establishment of a bond in the amount of $5,000 with the premium paid by the school district.
So moved.
Mr. Weiss?
Second.
Mrs. Krieger, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
D, recommend election of Marilyn Canavan as Assistant Secretary of the Board of School Directors effective July 1, 1997.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Weiss, Mrs. Krieger, any questions?
Yes, I have a comment. I would like to add, with your approval, and the establishment of a bond in the amount of $5,000 and premium paid by the school district. It's not an expensive bond, but I think it's important that we have Mrs. Canavan bonded.
Doesn't that bond that we established for Mr. Weir also cover that?
No, it does not.
Can't do it by individual.
I'd like to amend that motion.
Very good.
I'll amend it.
All right, thank you. All those in favor of the amended motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Item number 69-97, recommend approval of waiver of real estate taxes for Hatfield Township and Lansdale Borough as it relates to the joint purchase of Parkland from Dow Tile Company. This action rescinds prior motion approved on May 6, 1997.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Allen, Mr. Mosey, any questions?
Yes, one question. It states that this is at no cost to the district to date. Will there be, or is there a possibility there will be a cost to the district?
No cost to the district.
Okay, because I saw to date there, I thought there was something forthcoming.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. No.
So moved.
Item number 67-97, recommend approval for real estate tax exemption on parcels number 46-00-03013-20-8 and number 46-00-03013-52-3, and number 46-00-03407-19-2. See that? Acquired by Montgomery Township as open space.
Any questions?
Numbers, he just does numbers and words.
Wait, I have a question.
I wanted to show you I could do that.
Mrs. Krieger, what's your question?
I just have a question. Where exactly are these parcels? I didn't get any kind of, I mean, it just says it came from David Cutler.
Green Tree Tavern Road.
Where is that?
If you can tell me, I'd like to go visit.
It's not on the map, okay?
I don't know. I'm sure that they're new, it's
It's
their
gotta
new
be one of those new
subdivision. And
subdivisions.
it's probably an open space area within the subdivision.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved.
Go visit.
Item number 79-97, recommend approval to execute the agreement as set forth for the exchange of real estate between North Penn School District and Thomas F. McCarran. This land is located in North Lansdale Square.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Mosey, Mr. Weiss, any questions?
Yeah, Art, could you just update our little colored chart that we have to let us know which ones are being...
I did, if you recall the night I presented this to you, I gave you...
Oh, the same one from way...
No, well, it seems like way back, but until we got an agreement, and Mr. Bartle's office put it in the order that we wanted it in, and we brought it back to you. Here's where we are now.
Any other questions?
Okay, just color that in. No, thank you.
When that gets changed too, can you get the directional arrow changed? Because
North is going
Tommy's
the
been
opposite
trying for
way.
3.5 years now.
We just wanted to see if you still remember.
Yeah, north is really going southeast.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Item 80-97, recommend approval of officers and administrators listed as signatories for official documents and negotiable instruments effective July 1, 1997.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Krieger, Mrs. Shear, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
Item number 71-97, recommend approval of the financial institutions listed as depositories of North Penn School District funds for the period July 1, 1997 through July 30th, 1998.
June
So
30th.
moved.
June 30th.
Second with a question.
I need a motion first.
You got
So
it.
moved.
Who made the motion?
I moved.
Vicky. Oh, Vicky. Speak up, Vicky. And
Usually tells me to shut
I
up.
just want to ask Vicki a question about this, because I know that, during the auditor's report to us, he, discussed doing certain things with our financial institutions, but is Core States the best financial institution for us to be going with? Because just personally, I found that when our bank was taken over and we became Core States customers, we were not very happy because of all the fees and extra charges that they seem to assess our accounts. And I'm just wondering, are we exempt from those?
Well, Sharice, I don't think you have the same bank balance that
No,
we
I
can.
And so my question,
Presumptuous,
and
but-
so my question, do I need to increase? No, I'm just kidding. Is there a minimum amount of money that we have to avoid those fees, and are we getting that through Core States?
Well, we...
All right, let's not go there, okay?
I can tell you that this is the best agreement we've had to date. Mr. Tracy has worked very hard. He has reduced our fees. We have both agreed that this is a one-year condition and that we will be bidding our general banking next year.
Okay.
Great. You're going to see a whole listing of them. One of the things we needed, this was also part of the direct deposit situation where we have to provide, we have the one accounts that were approved on this agenda for the tax collectors.
Right.
We have a sweep account now established, which that is why he was anticipating even greater monies. And it needed the cooperation of the banking institution. And as you know, we had to pull this all together, the loose ends on this, in a very quick time in order to be ready for July 1.
We will gain considerable interest by having the sweep account, and our tax collectors, although some of them, and it is their prerogative to choose their own banking institution, will have the ability to wire money to us daily. So we're going to see a considerable amount of additional revenue by, first of all, giving them that ability, and secondly, having a sweep account.
Yes, and also the tax collectors by phone can transfer from their selected bank It goes direct in ours. It goes direct in
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Item number 73-97, recommend approval of the financial institutions listed as depositories for funds received by tax collectors of the municipalities that comprise the North Penn School District.
So moved.
Second.
Question.
Mr. Mosley, Mr. Shear, yes, Mr. Allen.
We're approving where the tax collectors put their money, put our money.
Right.
Yet we have no say over where they put it.
No.
Why are we approving something we have no control over?
Because I think we're going to get some kind of agreement to try to get them to put the money where we want them to put it.
We don't.
No, but we're going to say we're going to get. We still have to authorize it as our account because it is our account.
Right.
It is our account, and it's in our name, Bill. But it's their choice as to where they bank geographically. But once again, the wire capability, which we've never had before.
I understand that, but
Bill, how many mandatory votes do we approve on an agenda? We are approving things that the law says that we have to do all the time.
call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Item number 85-97, recommend that the Board of School Directors pass a resolution creating a permanent capital reserve fund pursuant to Section 2932 of the Municipal Code and make an initial deposit to this special fund of $1 million from surplus funds in the general fund.
So moved.
Mr. Shear.
Second.
Mr. Allen, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Item number 86-97, recommend that the Board of School Directors pass a resolution providing for the maintenance of a budgetary reserve within the general fund budget in the amount of $1,500,000 in order to provide for operating contingencies.
So moved.
Second.
This one's out. This one's out.
Moved and seconded.
Moved, Mrs. Shear, Mr. Allen, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
We're going to take out.
Number 87-97 was pulled. Number 88-97, recommend that the Board of School Directors pass a resolution that confines long-term borrowing for capital improvements to existing facilities, refunding existing debt, or for the construction of new facilities.
So moved.
Hallelujah.
Mr. Mosley, Mrs. Krieger, any questions? Mr. Shear? No questions?
No.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, so moved. Treasurer's report, Mr. Wood.
Yes, you have in your packet a treasurer's report. Deposits invested in time accounts, year-to-date, $7,477,354.41. Cash balance brought forward, $330,625.16. Local revenue collected for the month of May is $471,366.67. Year-to-date, $86,987,681.18. State revenue for the month of May, $2,481,343.76. Year-to-date, $13,443,561.90. Total federal revenue, month of May, $94,862.65. Year-to-date, $448,281.53. Total local sources, other financing, year-to-date, $62,016.22. Total general ledger revenues, month of May, $89,312.45. Year-to-date, $6,695,823.01. Total receipts and beginning balance, year-to-date, $116,445,343.31. Following down on that, as you see, our credit to expenditures and our subtotal is $685,004.48. Total disbursements from the budget and general ledger accounts year-to-date, $93,294,989.32, with a general fund spendable bank balance in the amount of $390,015.16. Business savings account as of May 30th, 1997 is $402,133.63. Memorial Fund money market account as of May 30th, 1997, $27,364.16. That concludes the treasurer's report.
Budget transfers.
Budget transfers first. Recommend approval of budget transfers as necessary to meet state requirements for the 1996-97 fiscal year.
Need a motion? So moved. Mr. Clemens?
Second.
Mr. Allen, any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Sanction invoice?
Sanction and approval. We're recommending sanction bills in the amount of expenditures in the amount of $8,302,403.90. Disbursements to be approved from the check register for the month of June, $435,319.35.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Mosey?
Second.
Mrs. Krieger, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved.
You have in your packet the cafeteria account report. You will see total income for the month of May in the amount of $381,029.40. Year-to-date, $3,266,977.20. Gross profit on sales, month of May, $203,544.70. Year-to-date, $1,860,140.69. Total operating costs showing a profit for the month of May in the amount of $56,273.32. Year-to-date, $412,800.03. Cash on hand, $1,142,572.
Thank you. Federal programs, Mr. Hensler? You have a question?
Art, when you could, I believe it was raised by Mrs. Abrams the last time regarding this fund. And you did say that there are some projects that you'd like to
I'll
extend.
send you a project list.
And I think it's important to clear up that that balance didn't just happen in the last year, because I know several years ago, Mr. Hartenstein was still here, as a matter of fact. There was a sizable amount, and I had some questions because of the regulations that apply to food service accounts and the issue that she raised regarding profits.
We'll show you going into September that we'll be eating into that balance by the updates that we're doing this summer. And also, we're holding in reserve because of the obligation of the food service department to make expenditures as they relate to the high school addition.
Right, but I'd also like to have some consideration made perhaps to the quality of the food that's being offered.
Yes.
I would like to say that while I know that this has come over an extended period of time, we just heard 50-some thousand in the month of May. I think we also want to look at the direct service to the students. And I don't mean to the staffing or whatever, but perhaps in the offerings, the lunch offerings that are there from our system, that perhaps we could be doing a little bit more there in the variety of the food that's being offered at the rate. So can we give that some consideration?
We'll have that.
Hopefully, Vicki, with the new VOTEC culinary program, we'll have some real nice menus.
Well, wait for it. They all have their VOTEC students in high school. I'm talking K through 12 here.
They're interested in using our menus.
Okay, federal programs.
No report. No report.
Solicitor's report.
No report, Mr. President.
What do you mean, no report? Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn.
The only between you and